Hey guys, what is going on? My name is NoJ456, and today I have something just a little bit different here for you guys. Today, my friends, we are going to be running through the entire Zombies storyline, and I mean the entire thing. This is basically every single thing that has happened from all 8 years from the beginning of Nocturne and Toten all the way till Revelations, literally, and including the comics as well. Every single thing that is part of the zombie storyline is in the book in the top right hand corner that you guys are looking at. I thought I'd throw on some gameplay just because looking at text isn't the most important thing. You guys are gonna see this is an old stream. My face is actually hiding behind the book up there, so you might see some old donations pop up and everything like that. Just try to ignore those because we're gonna be focusing and talking a lot about the actual zombie storyline and reading this book. If you guys would like to see this is basically this image right here, this image that that Treyarch sent out that has spiraling different basically spiraling storylines. Each one of these kind of represents like a different dimension, a different time and place. I'm gonna kind of explain that as I go along. We're gonna start with in the beginning and we're gonna keep going, but if you would like to check out this book, I have a link down below. All the amazing people who worked on it are right here. Basically, huge thanks to all of them. Huge thanks to every single one who helped put this together because it's something really cool. That is kind of like contributing to us being able to read this. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this book, this page right here, and it actually says it here. Let me see if I can zoom in to where it actually says it. It says in the corner, excerpt 1,326,816,100, huge number. This is one page of the Chronorium. This is one page of the Chronorium right here. My man, we're trying to have an educated conversation here, Miss Turt. And good luck with it. Good luck trying to charge because it's not gonna work. Good luck because it'll actually charge you because I'm verified with PayPal and everything like that. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Mr. I do appreciate the tip a whole lot, but we're gonna go ahead and get started here with reading the Chronorium and kind of explaining the zombie storyline as I go. I'm gonna be talking about each thing, how it links to different things, and just something a little bit different here. I thought it'd be something kind of cool to for us to run through, something that I really am interested in. And most of this I've read already, but I'm gonna read it through again with you guys, second read through, and talk to you guys about what exactly it is that we were finding. So. I guess let's start. So basically, in each one of the corners here, there's one up here. This one's called Agartha. This one right here in the middle is called In the Beginning. Over here is called Fractures, which is basically just like different temporal rifts in space and time. I'll explain those whenever we get to them. And Dimension 63 is where Mob of the Dead, Shadows of Evil, all those places take place. There's just kind of like another dimension, just the 63rd dimension that happens to be the correct dimension for a lot of these things. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be explaining everything that I talk about. If you guys would like, you want to make the book bigger, we can. If you guys want, I can make the book full screen, but only if you guys want to. I can make the book a little bit bigger over here.
Kill Paco.
Let's see. There we go. That's it a little bit bigger. You guys can let me know if you want it to be like completely bigger or whatever. I know the sub says it's 4 months, but it's actually 14 months now. Thank you, Zekron. I appreciate it. It says 9 months for me.
3 weeks and then 1v1, my dude.
3 weeks and then 1v1, my dude. I'll see you then, sweet. I'll see you then. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and get. You guys want to go ahead and go full screen? All right. I think it is important to get the entire storyline. So I guess let's just go ahead and full screen it. Let's read through, and I'm going to be explaining everything that I'm doing during this entire thing. All right. So here we go. Or swap the book and the gameplay. That's actually a really good idea. So let me do this. Let me keep playing the gameplay. That's actually a perfect idea. Oops. Display capture too. So let's swap the book and the gameplay. There we go. There we go. Actually, let's squeeze it in up there. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's go ahead and start with In the Beginning. This basically is the In the Beginning realm is like the entire events of like Black Ops 1 and some more. Let's just go ahead and get started here. So In the beginning, there was only the Ether and the Keepers. Among those were two beings who would be later be known by many games. One would be known as Dr. Monty, the other as the Shadow Man. So basically, this is talking about the beginning of time. In the Zombies universe, this is literally the beginning of time. Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man are the two characters that we have, and are part of the Keepers. The Keepers are just kind of like the creation beings. These things are all powerful. Obviously, we see the Keepers a lot, and we're going to find out what happens. So, September 3rd, 5 AD. Knowing the planet has a gateway to Agartha, the Apothicons send meteors of element 115 to Earth. They believe humanity will one day use element 115 to wage war amongst themselves, opening a rift that will allow the Apothicons to escape the dark ether. So basically, there's this ether that exists, and then there's the dark ether, which is what turns the Apothicons into the Apothicons. There's the Keepers, and then like a bunch of them split off and become kind of like the evil version of the Keepers, becoming the Apothicons eventually. And what they're talking about right here, September 3rd, 5 AD, is the Apothicons sending the meteors through the portals in Revelations. That's what they're talking about here on this September 3rd, 5 AD, which is really, really cool. That's what we actually see in the Revelations cutscene of them sending this 115 to Earth through the portals and everything like that. January 15th, 1292, the Great War begins between the humanity and the Apothicons. So basically, that's what they get. This is actually what we see at the very end of the Revelations cutscene when the characters are teleported back. They all have the staves. That's where they are right there. So that's part of the Revelations ending. That's what they're being teleported back to. Sir Pablo Marinus is saved from the clutches of Margua by 4 unknown heroes. They will later become known as Primus. So basically, the Origins version of the characters and the version of the characters that we play as Black Ops 3, these guys are known as Primus. There are 4 main factions that are essential to the storyline. Primus, which is the Origins version of the characters. Victus, which are the what's it called? Transit characters. Ultimus, which are the pre-Origins versions of the characters, basically like the Black Ops 1 and World at War versions of the characters, and then Richtofen is the 4th key. Those are the 4 like most important things. They actually list all of these on this page at the very bottom of the screen. You guys can see here: Primus, Ultimus, Victus, and Richtofen. Those are the 4 most important things that you like have to follow with. So basically that's that. Sir Pablo Marinus doesn't really matter all that much. He was like basically an ancient Templar who was saved from Amargua, which is the Apothicons attacking the war between the Apothicons and humanity, and he was saved by Primus. Together with the Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicons, bringing the Great War to an end. So there we go. Primus defeats the Apothicons, and then kind of like life goes on from there. January 1st, 1300, before they seemingly disappear from history, Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendrache. So this is that ancient the Der Eisendrache's facility, or the place. Primus actually told the Wolf King to start building this. This is the Wolf King's kind of storyline that we got within Der Eisendrache. Honoring the Wolf King's dying request, his loyal servant Arthur scatters and buries his bones in the grounds of Der Eisendrache, accompanied by the King's Wolf. So the King's Wolf is what we again see in Der Eisendrache. This is the wolf bow. This is kind of like the storyline between it. That's why his bones are all around, and that's how we get the bones that we need and fill them up with souls to actually create the wolf bow. It's actually the Wolf King's actual bones. September 30th, 1318, temporal rifts teleport Arthur to resolution 1295 and 2025 Angola. So basically, this is huge. I tweeted out about this, and you guys may know about this already. But basically, this is saying Leroy is Arthur. Basically, Leroy is the Wolf King's servant. So the guy who helped create Der Eisendrache, the king's servant, is Leroy that we find in Buried, which is insane. That's his name. His name is Arthur, not Leroy. June 30th, 1908, a meteor containing element 115 crashes near the Stony Tunguska River. So again, this is something that we've already seen. August 30th, 1295, Dr. Edward Richtofen joins the Illuminati. So obviously we kind of knew that he was and works with the Illuminati, or that it was relevant. Here's where we actually find out where he joins. And this story is mostly about Ultimus, which is the 1.0 characters. Not the 2.0 characters, the 1.0 characters. So there you go. February 4th, 1931 says large deposits of element 115 are discovered near Burslau, Germany. Dr. Ludwig Maxis, a German scientist, is sent to investigate. So again, this is the 1.0 Maxis. This is kind of like the original storyline that we got and all of those. And if you guys have any questions, let me know and I can talk about them. This chart says, which one map will you play first on DLC 5? You're looking at it in that corner over there. I'm really looking, or that corner. You're looking, I'm really looking forward to Origins. But anyway. May 10th, 1931, Maxis forms Group 935, an experimental organization dedicated to the study of element 115. Maxis tells the scientists they represent the future of technological advancement and will be pioneers of human discovery. The group swears to work in secrecy from their respective governments. As Maxis says, we cannot afford to let this power fall into the wrong hands. So this is basically the Group 935 was created by Maxis. We already knew this. So a lot of the stuff we knew is just laying it in the storyline, and then some of it's brand new, like Arthur being Leroy. Stuff like that is very, very new. November 5th, 1934, Samantha Maxis is born. Her mother dies in childbirth, so this is when Samantha is actually born for the first time. And this is the Samantha that's going to be basically teleported away in Duris. You guys know about all that. But let's keep going. August 11th, 1936. Maxis invites Richtofen to join Group 935. He agrees, secretly acting on behalf of the Illuminati's interest. So there you go. April 10th, 1937. Do you guys want me to read the dates or no? Because they're pretty big up here, so I might just leave I might read the first date of every page just because it's being blocked by the gameplay. But after that, I'll probably just highlight the date as I read the thing. April 10th, 1937, the Imperial Japanese Army discovers element 115 meteor fragments in a swamp within the Japanese territories. They build the Rising Sun facility to continue research. Division 9 is created and oversees its operation. We're going to see a lot more about Division 9. Oh, you guys do want me to see them? Okay. I'll keep reading them. June 14th, Division 9 is created to oversee its operation, which we're going to see more of Division 9 later on when we go to Takio's story. June 14th, 1937, the United States government discovers deposits of element 115 at Groom Lake, Nevada. This is basically, Groom Lake is basically Area 51. And that's kind of the spawning area of Moon, and there's 115 found there. July 2nd, 1936, Maxis and Richtofen begin teleportation experience with the matter transfers prototype. To mild success. When the subjects are teleported, but their chemical composition is altered, leaving them catatonic and changed. So basically, it kills the people, it all but kills the people who they teleport, and their kind of genetic makeup is altered with that. So it's not good. It's not good when they get teleported, and they're working on kind of like making that a prototype. August 5th, 1939. Using element 115, Maxis and Richtofen resurrect one of the teleported corpses for the first time. Initially it obeys, but soon becomes rabid and attacks them. The test subject is euthanized. So this is the first mention that we actually have of zombies so far. Element 115, if you don't know, is the element that actually creates zombies. It raises people from the dead and makes them into zombies whenever the bodies have exposure to element 115. September 3rd, 1939. Richtofen begins development of the Wunderwaffe DG2. So this is a weapon that Group 935 is creating, and Richtofen is kind of like the head of that. November 23rd, 1939. Maxis turns to Reichstag for additional fundraising. Germany agrees to the request for expressing interest in the weapons research, teleportation technology, and the reanimated undead subjects. So basically, this is a radio that we actually find on Duris as well. He's basically like saying, yo, we've got some cool stuff going on, but we need additional funding for Group 935, and it's very, very important that you send it to us. And they're like, oh, heck yeah, this sounds cool. Undead soldiers, yes, please. Let's send some more money to them. So, next page. December 4th, 1939. During test trial 115, Richtofen and Dr. Schuster successfully teleport a walnut. This is the first successful test where the chemical composition of the object is maintained throughout the process. So this is the walnut test. This is when they first teleport that nut for the first time, and it's a huge success. It's completely like it's just teleporting and everything works perfectly. December 5th, 1939. Edward's walnut delivery fails to impress Maxis, who declares it a waste of time. He reveals to Richtofen that Group 935 will soon be funded by Germany. Richtofen worries this will lead to massive defections. He and Schuster decide to continue the work of teleportation behind Maxis' backs, and we have the picture of the walnut right here. This is big. So before Group 935 was just people of all nations. They were all like working on like the advancement of humanity, not really against certain people. And then Maxis gets funding from Germany, which means they're gonna have to start producing weapons for Germany, which leaves a lot of people very, very unhappy within Group 935. January 4th, 1940. Richtofen and Schuster conduct their first.
I like you so hyped for DLC.
Yo, thank you so much, Gamer 811. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for that $10 tip. Appreciate you. I'm hyped for it as well. January 4th, 1940. Richtofen and Schuster conduct their first human teleportation test. Richtofen is so confident in success, he volunteers the MPD, the ether pyramid hidden by the Apothicons. So we're gonna get to later. The ether pyramid hidden by the Apothicons. We're actually gonna see this in the ether side of the storyline. You know, we're gonna. It's a big nut, huh? Yeah, it's it. Okay, I'll slow down, mister. Thanks for telling me. And I have goosebumps because zombie player from the beginning. The most surprising thing about all this, you'll see Hawkeye. You'll see. There's some really, really cool stuff in this. Really, really cool stuff. While expecting the device, Richtofen is electrocuted and begins hearing many voices of corruption, including the Shadow Man. The device then teleports him to Shangri-La. So this is when Shangri-La is actually like Richtofen is teleported there for the first time. Corrupted by Dark Ether, Richtofen is gradually being driven insane and by an obsession of finding Agartha. So Richtofen basically goes to volunteers the MPD, and he's electrocuted, and he basically starts getting these voices in his head, and this is where Richtofen's descent into madness actually goes. 1.0 Richtofen was just absolutely like a mad scientist. He was corrupted by Dark Ether, and he's not a good guy. Richtofen 1.0 is not a good guy. Okay. January 5th, 1940, Richtofen is worshipped by the natives of Shangri-La, and altar is built in his name. Richtofen encounters the focusing stone for the first time. So this is basically kind of explaining how Shangri-La had all that Richtofen stuff in it. January 23rd, 1940, after a near-month absence, Richtofen returns to Schuster with a plan to build Griffin Station. So he's basically like going to Schuster behind Maxis's back and saying, yo, we need to start building Moon. Like, the Moon that we play on, we need to start building it. That's Griffin Station is Moon. January 24th, 1940, Richtofen renounces his involvement with the Illuminati. When asked how he could abandon his obligation to the order, he says Teddy was a liar. So he's really going crazy. He basically says like, yo, I'm not going to work with you anymore, Illuminati. I'm not down with that. I'm going to be my own dude now, and that's the reason he gives. Teddy was a liar. Construction of Griffin Station and the Moon begins on March 13th, 1940. Frustrated by Maxis's alignment with Germany, other disgruntled Group 935 scientists join the cause. So basically, everyone's mad that basically Group 935 is helping Germany because they're all from like Japan and America. They're scientists from everywhere. They don't like that they're helping the Germans in the war, so they kind of like go with Richtofen and go behind Max's back to create the Moon base, the Griffin Station. July 13th, 1940, Maxis instructs his assistant Sophia to write a letter to the Reichstag High Command requesting additional funds. Though he reports that mass production will be underway shortly, Duris lacks not only funding but sufficient volumes of Element 1 to 5. So basically, Sophia, this is the first mention we have of her. Okay, sorry, I'll try to talk slower. Literally, this is going to take me like 3 hours to go through. That's why I'm kind of like talking quickly. I'll slow down a little bit. But sufficient volumes of 115. So basically, he has Sophia just like, yo, Sophia, you need to help me out. You need to get more funding for this and more at 115 so we can actually, do our work here at Group 935. August 1st, 1940. In response to Maxis's request, Germany creates 2 new facilities for Group 935. They are the Kino facility, a repurposed theater, and the Asylum facility at the Winnetau Sanatorium in Berlin. So basically that is Verrucht being created as a 935 facility and Kino der Toten being created as a 935 facility. August 18th, 1940. As per Germany's request, the Japanese Imperial Army hands over the Rising Sun facility to Group 935. Division 9 remains involved on site. So this is just kind of explaining the backstory of what happened there. October 3rd, 1940, Group 935 establishes a research facility in Siberia near the Tunguska River. So again, this is just the creation of our maps, kind of telling about why they did stuff, where they did stuff, everything like that. November 6th, 1940, Group 935 establishes a research facility at Dreisendrach. So basically, the temple that Primus told them to build, or the castle that Primus told the Wolf King to build, yeah, it's actually being used by Group 935 now. Not connected at all. Richtofen, it's not the same Richtofen that told them to build this facility. That Blundell, dude. That Blundell.
The map features 1,000.
Okay, Geekmans, give me 1 second, dude. Give me 1 second. Okay, here's a big one. June 24th, 1941, Nicolae Belinsky's wife is killed during the German advance in the Soviet Union. In an effort to numb the pain, Nicolae increasingly turns to vodka. So basically, Nicolae got addicted to vodka, basically, because his wife died and he's trying to numb the pain. And that's why Nicolae is talking about, or always drinking vodka, or 1.0 Nicolae, rather, is always drinking vodka. January 11th, 1942, Maxis gives Fluffy to Samantha. The dog is expecting a litter. So this is going to later become the Hellhound. Fluffy is the dog, the original Hellhound, and it's expecting to have puppies soon. All right, next page. January 20th, 1942. Maxis tests for the Maxis tests the first file for storage on the data server. And so this is kind of like linking back to some stuff that was in the older maps as well. January 26th, 1942. On the data server, Maxis catalogs locations with prominent element 115 deposits. He includes information about various applications in cities that the reanimation of dead cells is a possible side effect. So basically, he's saying everything we know about 115 and all the places we know it is actually here. And keep in mind, remember, the Apothicons were the original ones that sent element 115 to Earth in order for them to have like wars between each other over it, and that's where it first got there. And he notes that it can create zombies. January 30th, 1942, Richtofen completes the Wunderwaffe DG2 prototype. So there you go, 1.0 Richtofen completes the Wunderwaffe. He's the one who actually created it. February 1st, 1942, with Griffin Station completed, so the secret base that Richtofen's making behind Maxis' back, Richtofen names Dr. Groff lead scientist and returns to Earth to continue the charade with Maxis. So he's just playing Maxis as a fool. Working alongside Schuster, Groff is left to discover the power of the MPD. So basically, Richtofen's secret base is completed. He's like, yo, Groff, you're going to go over here and you're going to just figure out how this MPD works. And the MPD is actually left there by the Apothicons and has dark ether inside of it. It's not a good thing. No matter, even if you want power, it corrupts you and it destroys your soul, basically. And we find that out in a little bit. February 2nd, 1942, in a speech to his staff, Groff talks optimistically about Griffin Station's establishment of a permanent base of operations. So he's like, oh, heck yeah, this is way better than working for Maxis. Let's keep doing this. April 17th, 1942, Maxis develops the ray gun prototype at the Rising Sun facility. H. Porter begins working on the second generation model. So Porter's ray gun Mark II, he's the one who was actually starting the ray gun Mark II at this time, and Maxis made the ray gun prototype. So basically, he created the ray gun at first. June 13th, 1942, a result of a temporal rift in 1963 Kino, Monty reaches across time and offering little nudges. One nudge is developing Group 935's Element 115 fused elixirs. They create 4 mechanical beverage from known colloquial, I can't say words, as Juggernaut, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. So basically, Monty influenced the creation of perks. He was like, here, let's give him a little nudge in the right direction to actually create these perks, and Group 935 created them in the first place. So that's really, really cool. Monty's actually the one who was helping to create these perks, because people wouldn't be able to do it themselves. Dominic, thank you for what's it called? Silent Storm, rather. Thank you for sponsoring. And then William Ramirez says, Transert Mastered is DLC 5. You wish, dude. You wish. All right, real quick. Geekmans, thank you for the memes, dude. Appreciate that, dude. And then Shardaville, what do you think the theory of the zombies are trying to follow the steps of Black Ops 1? I think it works in some places, but it doesn't work in others. It's like a stretch, Charlie. Let's see. He was asking about like the zombie storyline following the steps of the campaign mission, secure the keys, ascend from darkness, rain fire, that stuff. It works in some places, but it doesn't work in other. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay. So where are we now? Second generation model. Group 935 continues development of weapons upgrade machines. So Group 935 also is working on the Pack-a-Punch at this time. June 18th, 1942. Groff and Schuster unwittingly discover how to charge the MPD. When Schuster kills a rat near the device, the death inexplicably begins filling the tank, charging the device. They report the findings to Richtofen. So whenever you kill something near the MPD, it charges up. And he's like, oh, snap. July 20th, 1942. Richtofen at this point is pretty darn evil and pretty corrupted by the dark ether. So he begins sending soldiers and scientists to the moon to be sacrificed. Their souls are being used to charge the MPD, which is pretty messed up. He's like, hey, go to the moon. We got some cool stuff. Boom, you're dead. So that's what they're doing there. Takeo Misaki is dispatched by the Emperor to oversee the work of Group 935 in Division 9 at the Rising Sun facility. So this is our first mention of Takeo being like sent out. This is 1.0 Takeo. Keep in mind, this entire kind of like first kind of chapter of the book, there's 4 chapters. The first like chapter is mostly talking about the 1.0 characters. So Taki is being sent out to check out what's going on. December 8th, 1942, Richtofen shares Element 115 base elixir recipes with Griffin Station. They develop Mule Kick. So basically, Mule Kick was developed at Griffin Station, and that's why we kind of see it there. December 9th, 1942, Nicolae's brother is killed in the Battle of Stalingrad. So Nicolae's wife died, and his brothers died in the Battle of Stalingrad. It's pretty darn bad. It's not a happy time right there. December 14th, 1942, Richtofen creates the monkey bomb, so first ever monkey bomb, thanks to Richtofen at 115 infused. December 16th, 1942, in a personal log, Maxis expresses concern over Element 115's impact on Richtofen's behavior. No longer trusting him, he wonders if it was a mistake to invite him to Group 935. So Maxis is finally getting weary of Richtofen, wondering like, what is he up to? I think Element 115 is affecting his behavior, and not only is that true, not only is it Element 115, it is also the Dark Ether that kind of like he's hearing these voices in his head, and it's not good. The Apothegons have that like whispering in his mind from the Shadow Man already, which we didn't know in the past. We always thought it was just 115, but he was corrupted by the Dark Ether. And this is 1.0 Richtofen. Keep in mind, this is always 1.0 Richtofen, which is the one that was in the World of War maps, everything like that. December 20th, 1942, accompanied by Sophia, Maxis is transferred to the Keenan facility to focus on creating Germany's undead army. Samantha is left in Richtofen's care, which is really, really a dumb idea, especially if he was kind of like thinking Richtofen was acting weird. Bad idea, and he's going to see why in a second. Maxis worries he and Sophia have grown too close. He considers sending her away. So my boy Maxis and Sophia are getting a little closer, and he's like, she's affecting my work, and that'll kind of show up again in Revelations. January 16th, 1943, Nicolae is captured by German forces during the Battle of Stalingrad. He becomes a subject in Group 935's experiment. So this is where 1.0 Nicolae is actually captured and brought in to be a test subject. This is the test subject version of Nicolae. It's 1.0 Nicolae, and there you go. So that's the important part we need to know from that. January 27th, 1943. Maxis reports the success for Subject 626, who is a zombie, whose violent outbursts have been greatly reduced. Maxis believes that this method of treatment will be 100% effective in most cases. So basically, he's like testing with zombies, see if he can control the zombies, and he reports some success. February 2nd, 1943, the Battle of Stalingrad ends. So Nicolae is like, there's no reason. He was just a few days, about 16 days away from being able to get out of here without being captured, as he was a soldier for the army. February 10th, 1943, Maxis reports the treatment has been perfected. He believes if Subject 26 can retain the impressions longer than 26 hours, then the delivery of the zombies' army can be accelerated. So basically, he's saying like, if the zombie stays good for 26 hours, we can go ahead and go ahead and do the next step, which is creating a zombie army for Germany in the war. February 12th, 1943, after attacking a handler, Subject 26 was killed and deemed another setback. So basically, didn't work. The alarms went off. You guys remember in that recording, the alarms went off and they had to kill the subject, and it was deemed as a setback. May 18th, 1943, Harvey Yena begins his work with Group 935. He's going to be important a little bit later on. Primus arrives from Dimension 63. In an effort to prevent the efforts that are about to unfold, they formulate a plan to stop this dimension's Richtofen. So, this is the first mention of 2.0 Richtofen, or Primus Richtofen. Primus Richtofen arrives from Dimension 63. We'll hear more about that in a second. That's where Shadows of Evil takes place. This is where Mob of the Dead takes place, and a couple other things. That's Dimension 63. And he shows up and he's like, okay, we got to come up with a plan. June 11th, 1943, so 7 days later, he's contacted by the House from Maxis, who warns that the test subjects must never be allowed to awaken. The havoc that could be awakened upon the failure of the future of such simple-minded individuals be catastrophic. So basically, Maxis, this is a different version of Maxis, not the one in this world that's working for Group 935. This is the Maxis that we see in the House in Revelations. This Maxis knows what happens if these test subjects get loose, how much it like destroys the world, like everything that happens on the moon, that eventually leads to Buried, which is all the like them destroying everything, and Maxis is assuming ultimate control. All this starts off with the characters coming out, and he's like, yo, you got to stop these test subjects from being awakened, which doesn't happen. All right, so on to the next page here. Let's see, Easy E, thank you for that, appreciate it, dude. Something Dumb Crumple is going to be lit. Thank you, Compton Snoopy. And Phoenix says, if you're approached by Blundell, okay. If you're approached by Blundell to be part of a zombie movie, who would you like to act? Probably Richtofen. I think it'd be funny. Be a terrible actor, but how do you like everybody? Everybody Logic. I haven't listened to it yet. But thank you, Phoenix. All right. On to the next page. June 15th, 1943. Taktia reports to the Emperor that the work being done at the Rising Sun facility is unacceptable. So he's still working for the Emperor. The Emperor's still good, and he's saying that the work here is bad. It's not good. Okay, next up, June 19th, 1943, Primus Richtofen is teleported to the house and Agartha reuniting him with Maxis. So this is Primus Richtofen actually going to the house for the first time and being like, yes, Maxis, like, this is the version of you that is actually good. You're not a Maxis drone. This is a Maxis that is a good guy who wants the best, man. Let's see, June 24th, on the orders of the Emperor. So this is never shown. This is never shown anywhere in the storyline, Richtofen being teleported to the house for the first time. This is the house that Dr. Monty has created, and it has his like perfect future. And then this is where they kind of like formulate the plan. It's just Richtofen and Maxis there, and maybe Monty. June 24th, on the orders of the Emperor, Takeo is taken prisoner by Group 935 in Division 9. He's used as a test subject for experiments. So this is not the Takeo that we find in Zetsuba no Shima. This is the Takeo being taken prisoner and uses a test subject that Richtofen uses. This is the brainwashed Takeo that only says Chinese proverbs, or Japanese proverbs. That's that Takeo. July 14th, 1944, after setbacks with Subject 2-6, Maxis reports a new success with the Undead Army. However, he maintains his belief that the Undead cannot be controlled or maintained. So basically, Maxis is like, there's new success, but they can't be controlled. They're zombies. You can't control them. September 2nd, 1944, Pablo Marinus, a Mexican spy, is captured by Group 935 at Dura Eisendrach. So this Pablo was captured, and he is the Mexican test subject that ends up dying. So there you go. May 9th, 1945, in his cell, Pablo writes of visions of a great war. He describes a battle against strange demon-like creatures who were trying to devour the earth. In his vision, he sees 4 knights protect him from certain death. He makes notes of the knights' tunics worn similar to those in Dura Eisendrach. So basically, this is not the Pablo that was alive in like 1295 during the First Great War, but he has the same visions. And he basically sees the Apothicons, he sees everything, and he draws it like with the chest symbol. The chest symbol that kind of has Primus wears, and he saw Primus in these visions, so it's interesting. June 4th, 1945, or June 4th, 1945, Noctur and Toten. So this is Noctur and Toten's storyline. An Allied plane malfunctions over an airfield and crashes. German army trucks transporting undead and L115 between Group 935 facilities is struck in. Is that a typo? Group 935 facilities is struck and struck. Huh, that's a typo. You see how it says is struck and struck? But anyway, they're struck in the crash. The Marines survive the crash, holding out along against the undead as long as they can. So that basically Noctur and Toten, just 4 random soldiers who crash landed and then actually hit a truck carrying a 935 kind of like experiments or zombies, and they try to survive. That's that. June 17th, 1945, Peter McCain infiltrates Group 935 at Dur Reese. So Peter McCain is a spy. This is the first mention we have of Peter McCain the first time. How can you read there are no pictures? It's not a picture book. This is real stuff triangulated. Appreciate it, though. So Peter McCain is he arrives the first time on June 17th. He's a spy. June 29th, 1945, Groff and Schuster developed the wave gun. So they're working on the moon. They developed the wave gun on the moon. Good stuff. July 15th, 1945, Richtofen travels to the Siberia facility to do farther research on live specimens. As her temporary guardian, he takes Samantha with him. So he has Samantha with him as Maxis is working on other stuff. Group 935 begins transferring 3 test subjects for experimentation. Nicolae, Pablo, and Takeo. So Pablo, Takeo, and Nicolae have all been captured by Group 935, and they're about to be experimented on with Group 935.
Me and Milo.
Who be this, Mr. T? Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but at the very beginning, I gave you a quick end of beginning. I know, man. I know. It hurts me. I wish I could have both you guys hovering on my shoulders, but next time, man. Chris Brown says, "Oh yeah, story time." My man, Chris Brown. Thank you, dude. All right, let's keep moving here. So Nicolae, Pablo, and Takeo, these guys are all captured, and they're all the test subjects. So they don't have Dempsey yet. Dempsey has not been captured, but these are the 3 original test subjects. Pablo is going to later die. July 29th, 1945, when Richtofen works at the Siberian facility, Group 935 begins development of Deadshot Daiquiri. So that's the first time Deadshot is made. It's a good meme. It's a good meme. Let's see. August 1st, 1945, the test subjects arrive at the Siberian facility for Richtofen's experiment. So this is the first time that the Nicolae, Pablo, and Takeo show up. August 31st, 1945, CIA handler Cornelius Purnell confirms that Peter McCain has successfully infiltrated Group 935. This is the radio that we hear. and has been transferred to the asylum facility, which is, as you guys know, Verrucht. So that he's being transferred to Verrucht. Cornelius suspects Group 935 is losing control of their experiments and has sent in a Marine recon team to extract McCain. Tank Dempsey is the lead of the squad. So basically, Tank Dempsey and 3 random soldiers are being sent to go rescue what's his name, Peter McCain, and at Verrucht. But but at September 1st, before they can get there, Peter is out as a spy and is captured by Group 935. Richtofen reports that Pablo's died following a series of spleen removal. So basically, Pablo, the guy who had the visions of the soldiers and the premise and everything like that, dies because Richtofen removes his spleen because he's pretty much like evil. It's one point at Richtofen, he's pretty evil. But also reveals he's been performing experiments on Samantha. Pretty evil. World War II ends. Group 935 continues their research, so they're no longer just like creating weapons for Germany. They're just doing research at this point. Temporal rifts begin to affect the asylum facility, and orderly reports that increasing problems with the test subject. So basically, they're having more and more problems at Verrucht, and eventually it's going to be overrun. The asylum is going to be overrun. September 2nd, many in the facility has begun hearing voices coming from the walls, including the sobbing of a boy and a girl screaming, a man shouting for children to close the windows. So they're starting to hear into the other dimension that the house is at. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. They're starting to hear, not the Monty house dimension, but the house that Maxis is basically, they're being bombed and everything like that. So that's pretty crazy. They're starting to hear in other dimensions. September 3rd, this 2 days later, the outbreak occurs at the asylum facility. Peter McCain escapes. So basically, Peter McCain gets out and Verrucht is overrun. And on September 6th, Dempsey, John Banana, and Smokey and a 4th Marine arrive at the asylum and find it overrun by zombies. They fight off the horde as long as they can. Dempsey is apprehended by Group 935. So basically, they're fighting off all the zombies at Verrucht, which they're rescuing Peter McCain, but he's already left. And Group 935 it just basically arrests Dempsey. This is how Dempsey is captured. 1.0 Dempsey is captured. This is that other radio that we hear. September 7th, 1945. John Banana writes messages and records his last words after being alive by an undead Smokey. So you remember where he's only talking in like rhymes. He's like, and he's doing the rap god thing on Revelations. He's basically like records his last words after he's overrun at Verrucht. And we heard that. September 10th, 1945. Richtofen reports another spy has been captured and will be brought in to replace the Mexican. The subject is Dempsey. So instead of the Mexican or Pablo, we have Dempsey coming in as the 4th test subject. So all 4 of the people are or all 3 of the people, and then obviously Richtofen to make our 04. All the 1.0 characters are being brought together at the facility to work under Richtofen and being experimented on. September 13th, Cornelius Purnell attempts to send a transmission to Peter McCain telling him to rendezvous at the Rising Sun facility. So he says like, yo, Peter, if you got out, go to the Rising Sun facility. And then on September 17th, 1945, Dempsey arrives at the Siberian facility. So basically, Siberian facility is where all of the test subjects are and where they're going to be tested on. September 20th, 1945, Richtofen documents the personality traits of his test subjects. Dempsey's intellect seems low, but his will is strong. Takio is staring at the floor, muttering what sounds to be some sort of proverbs over and over again. Nicolae has recently begun responding to stimuli, but only after injections of a new serum made primarily from vodka. Richtofen notes that their minds have been almost entirely broken with no memory remaining of who they once were. So basically, all the 1.0 characters except for Richtofen have been completely brainwashed. They don't remember anything, and they've been reverted to their most primitive form. Dempsey's a soldier. Takio is like loyal to the emperor and like has all these proverbs. And Nicolae just drinks vodka. That's why you hear these characters say so much. They've been experimented on. 115 has basically wiped their memories, and they don't know who they are anymore. They just have these kind of like character traits. On September 27th, Richtofen returns to Duris with Dempsey, Nicolae, Takio, and Samantha. And then on October 1st, Maxis reports on Richtofen's findings with his live test subjects, noting that while their baseline psyche remains intact, all specific memories have been lost. Maxis is just reporting the same thing that Richtofen saw. They have no memories. 1.0 characters have no memories. The 3 others besides Richtofen, no memories at all, but they have their kind of like baseline psyche. October 1st, 1945, infuriated to learn that Maxis has not been mass-producing the DG2 as he swore he would, Richtofen reveals his plot to destroy Maxis and Samantha, vowing that he will no longer continue to work on his undead army. So Richtofen's pissed that Maxis has not been mass-producing the DG2, and he's like, yo, I created my own base, and also I hate you. So that's what Richtofen does. Groff reports to Richtofen that MPD is nearly ready on October 8th, so 7 days later, he's like, yo, the MPD is almost charged up, and we're almost ready to see what it does. October 12th, 1945, Graf radios Richtofen to inform him that the device has been powered up and is awaiting the conduit. Richtofen says he will proceed with Operation Shield and dispose of Maxis and Samantha. So he's going to kill Maxis and Samantha and go and like kind of activate this MPD for the first time. Let's see. Wait, did I skip one? No, that's it. October 13th, 1945. Though frustrated with the matter transference tests that have been largely unsuccessful, Maxis acknowledged that the test subject's departure from the original point is undeniable. However, Richtofen's suggestion that the subjects have been transported not through space, but time itself, causes Maxis to worry that irrationally may soon prove a liability to our endeavors. So basically, Richtofen is saying like, yo, maybe they're not just being teleported, maybe they're being teleported through time, and Maxis doesn't like that. He doesn't like that at all. October 13, 1945. Maxis and Richtofen performed teleportation test trials on test subjects 3, 4, and 5. All fail, including test subject number 5, where Maxis uses Fluffy as the test 6 chamber. Samantha sees Fluffy and runs into the teleporter, and Maxis chases after her. So basically, Samantha walks in as he's like doing a teleportation experiment on Samantha's dog. Samantha's like, no, Fluffy, and runs in the chamber, which you hear in Der Riese, but also at the very beginning of the cutscene for the giant. He runs into the teleporter after Samantha, and Richtofen seals them both in there and teleports all three of them. So October 13th, 1945, so obviously literally right after that last blip happened, Samantha's teleported to the moon while Graf and Schuster work on the MPD. Running into the MPD, she's drawn inside it where she becomes corrupted by the dark ether. So basically, this is again something we're going to see in just a second here. But the dark ether is bad stuff. This is what actually creates the Apothicon. And Samantha runs in there and loses her innocence. She's corrupted by the dark ether immediately whenever she gets sucked inside the MPD. And Maxis is teleported to the crazy place where he develops the power to merge with electricity, which is something we never knew before. That's actually crazy. Maxis goes to the crazy place in a whole other dimension. In Dimension 63, he goes to a different dimension and develops the power to merge with electricity there. That's how Maxis can talk to you guys through radios and everything like that. And that's all that. Natman says it's all false. Praise the Apothicons. That's next level, dude. Let's see. So Richtofen returns to the moon, learning that Samantha is trapped inside of the MPD. He orders Graf to teleport Maxis there to coax her out of the device. So he also warns Graf to keep her an eye out for an evil-looking dog. So he's like, yo, watch out for that Fluffy. Fluffy became the Hellhounds, as we know, and her puppies became the Hellhounds, and that's what the Hellhounds are. That's how they were created. It was Samantha's dog who was experimented on by Group 935. Richtofen returns to the moon, learning. Oh yeah, read that one. And so he's basically like, "Yo, get Maxis back here so we can get Samantha to come out of the MPD." October 13th, 1945. In an effort to free Samantha, Maxis approaches the MPD and persuades her to come out. Once she does, Maxis gives her an instruction: kill them all. Maxis kills himself and merges with the technology of Griffin Station. So this is a big thing right here. So in the moon Easter egg, you hear Maxis talking through the Griffin Station, and he's like, Richtopen's like, how are you still alive? Because he saw Maxis kill himself. We hear a gunshot. We never knew who shot Maxis or if he shot himself. But he shot himself and merges with the technology at Griffin Station. That's how he lives on as 1.0 Maxis. You know what I mean? So basically, 1.0 Maxis ends up merging with the technology at Griffin Station and talks to the survivors, talks to the transit crew through technology. 2.0 Maxis, or that one is the one that becomes the Maxis drone. And Maxis drone eventually becomes the physical form that we see inside the house. Those are the two different Maxises, just to give you guys like a baseline of what happens there. H. Porter activates the alarm as an outbreak occurs at Der Riese. Before taking a cyanide capsule, he says, all out of hope, God forgive us all. So that's basically right after all this happens. Basically after Richtofen gets out of there and Maxis gets out of there and Samantha's killing everyone on Griffin Station, Der Riese is overrun at the same time. So that's the fall, basically the day after. Richtofen returns to Der Riese and awakens Dempsey, Takio, and Nicolae with no recollection of who they are or who Richtofen is. They agree to help him. The four would become known as Ultimus. So Ultimus is very, very important. That's the 1.0 characters, and basically it just means that Richtofen is the evil Richtofen, and the other three have no memories. They just don't know what's happening. They didn't know Richtofen's the reason they have no memories. They just do what he says, basically. October 18th, 1945, Peter McCain parachutes over the Rising Sun facility. He dies shortly after. So that's a little interesting stuff. You guys know you can see the body hanging and everything like that. Peter McCain parachutes. Ultimates travels to the Rising Sun facility to recover Richtofen's diary. Upon reading it, Richtofen begins to form his plan to defeat Samantha. So basically, the events of Moon have not occurred yet, but this is them getting like set up to go to get Samantha out of the MPD device. So they're forming the plan for Moon. That's Shino Numa. And then October 28th, 1945, Ultimates returns to Duris, which is still overrun with everything. With his diary, Richtofen plans to use the teleporter to return to the Moon to confront Samantha. Unfortunately, the Wunderwaffe DG2 overloads the teleporter, sends them through time, causing Richtofen to drop his diary. So basically, Richtofen is planning to go from Duris straight to Moon, but the DG2 overloads the teleporter. They don't end up going there. So they have to end up going somewhere else. They end up going somewhere else. It's going to talk about it in just a second. On November 5th, 1945, Group 935 is disbanded. So Group 935 is no more. They disband. On January 19th, 1946, the United States and the Soviet Union share the resources recovered from Group 935's various research stations. Richtofen's diary is among the items recovered by the Soviet Union. So basically, America and the Soviet Union's like, America and Russia's like, yo, they did some really crazy stuff. We want to know how they did it, and we want to do it ourselves. So they basically go and rummage through Group 935 stuff, and they start creating their own kind of like Group 935 things for their countries. January 27th, 1946, the Pentagon hires many former Group 935 scientists in an effort to replicate their work. So Pentagon, that's why all those scientists are below the Pentagon whenever we go to 5. That's the reason they were trying to replicate Group 935's work. January 29th, 1946, as with their U.S. counterparts, the Soviets hire many former Group 935 scientists. Among them is Harvey Yena, who forms the Ascension Group. So the Ascension Group is made by scientists who were Russian, or who were working for the Russian government trying to replicate Group 935's works from previous Group 935 scientists, if that makes sense. The Pentagon begins experiments of their own involving versions of the undead. So again, Pentagon's just experimenting on stuff. That's why it's overrun. The U.S. government transfers a number of Element 115 experiments to the Gruen Lake facility, which is the Area 51 from Moon, or the Moon starting room, basically. That's what happens. Gershon and Yuri Zavosky, I always get his name wrong, Yuri Zavosky or whatever, begin working for the Ascension Group. So Gershon and Yuri, that's how they get to the Ascension Group. They were Group 935 scientists. They end up going to the Ascension Group, and that's how they create it. April 25th, 1956, explorers Brock and Gary discover Shangri-La. During an eclipse, they're unwittingly trapped in a time loop. Sally, sent back in time from 2011, is trapped in the same loop. Ultimus arrives at Shangri-La. With the help of Brock and Gary, they acquire the focusing stone. So that's basically the entire Shangri-La Easter egg is wrapped up into that. And Sally is actually from the way future. She's from 2011, and she was also stuck in there. That reporter that you heard, or not reporter, she's like she's the assistant for what's his name? She's the assistant for gosh, what's his name? George Romero. So we'll talk. You'll see more about her in a second. That's the entire Shangri-La Easter egg. The entire Shangri-La Easter egg. What they're doing is they're getting the focusing stone. That's where they teleport from Duris when they overload the teleporter. June 3rd, 1959, the Pentagon constructs their own prototype teleporter and commence experimentation. March 15th, 1962, studying Group 935's medicinal elixir research, the Ascension Group develops a PhD Flopper and Stamina Up, so that's the creation of those two perks by the Ascension Group. November 11th, 1962, Gersh begins work on Project Thunder, which is going to be important a little bit later on. So December 12th, 1962, Gersh and Yuri begin work on the Gersh device, codenamed Project Mercury. So that's how the Gersh device was made. Obviously, Gersh made it while he was on Ascension. June 15th, 1963, the Pentagon begins development of their own version of the Wunderwaffe DG2. August 17th, 1963, the Pentagon develops... Oh my gosh, I can't read right now. The Pentagon begins development on their own version of the Winter's Howl. October 28th, 1963. So this is the story of Kino der Toten. From Duris, I said earlier that they teleported to Kino. I said that out of whack there. That was my bad. From Duris, the Ultimates teleports to Kino. This marks the first time Ultimates have traveled across space and time. Temporal rifts occur across dimensions. In light of these developments, Monty feels obligated to step in. So here's our second mention of Monty. First, what he did is he basically was like, yo, you guys need a little help. Let me help you develop perks. and this is the second time he's stepping in, and begins to make changes in the background across time. He helps Group 935 invent perk machines, he adds chalk drawings to walls, and little nudges. Ultimus becomes a lunar lander into fly to the Ascension facility. So this is the actual event that triggers Monty into doing stuff. So not only does he help with perk machines, he also adds the chalk drawings. So the wall weapons are Monty's doing, and this is the kind of event when they're teleporting across space and time that Monty feels like he needs to step in and like do something about it. You know what I mean? So that's the first time that we hear Monty doing that. Ultimus locates a lunar lander and flies to Ascension. So they basically go to Keener Toten, base, survive there, and then they find a lunar lander and go to Ascension from there. October 28th, 1963, Gersh informs the senior staff that Yuri has been removed from Project Mercury and has been transferred to Rocket Research. October 29th, 1963, Yuri begins to notice an appearance of children's toys around the facility, which is pretty darn creepy, but that is something that we kind of see in Ascension. So there you go. That's kind of the implementation of that. Upon reading Richtofen's diary, Yuri begins to hear Samantha's voice. Over several days, her voice will consume him, driving him to resume work on the Gersh device. He obeys. So basically, Yuri was not supposed to work on the Gersh device, and Samantha basically made him obey and continue work on the Gersh device. Gersh announces to the committee that Project Thunder is nearing completion. The Gersh reveals Yuri may need to be removed from Ascension entirely because he was working on something he wasn't supposed to be. And having observed that as being hostile toward other scientists, he frequently is observed running to himself. So Yuri's just being slowly driven mad, and it's not a good time. Obeying Samantha's wishes, Yuri tricks Gersh into activating the Gersh device. The rift created absorbs him and allows Samantha to travel through. Yuri is also absorbed and transported to the Pentagon. So Yuri, this is another big reveal. Yuri is actually the Pentagon thief. Someone who worked in Ascension as a member of Group 935 is the Pentagon thief. That's when he's teleported across. And not only that, is Gersh was basically, like, Yuri basically tricked Gersh into doing whatever the crap he wanted to, or Samantha tricks Yuri into doing whatever he wants to, and then that's how Gersh is actually trapped, and that's how Samantha gets to this facility, and lets Samantha kind of like take over, you know what I mean? And that's how she's like tormenting Gersh and everything like that. So interesting stuff. And then Yuri becomes the Pentagon thief, which is insane. November 6th, 1963, which is Ascension. This is when Ultimus shows up. This is when the 1.0 characters show up. Ultimus arrives at the Soviet Cosmodrome to free Gersh from the Cosmere mechanism. Richtofen recovers his diary, learns that they need the Vril device from the Siberian facility for his plan, maintaining his ethereal form. Gersh sends them into the rift of the next dimension before beginning his travel across space and time. So basically, Gersh gets trapped by Samantha. Or Samantha tricks, here, let's run through everything. Samantha tricks Yuri into helping her out. Yuri tricks Yuri under Samantha's control. Yuri tricks Gersh into going in and getting sucked up. Ultimus arrives at Ascension. The Ascension Easter egg is freeing Gersh, and Gersh is like, yo, I'll help you out. I'll teleport you across space and time because he's basically sucked up into the ether. And then he teleports to Stalingrad in another dimension on Gerard Krovey. That's Gersh's adventure, man. He kind of got the short end of the stick for sure. He definitely did not get he got screwed over pretty darn badly by everything that's happened. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the read through and all the information so far, if you guys could go ahead and leave a like, that'd be very, very much appreciated. We're on I think 100 likes. If you guys could go ahead and hit that like button, it'd be very, very much appreciated. If you guys can help me out. I haven't refreshed in a while, so it might be higher than that, but that's what mine's at right now. Anyway, next up is 5. In the Pentagon, John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, and Robert Nakamura meet with Fidel Castro in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is the entire map of 5. Due to the events at the Cosmodrome, a zombie outbreak occurs. Samantha sends Yuri to the Pentagon to thwart their survival. So Yuri, again, is the Pentagon thief. And that's how the zombie outbreak occurs. After Gersh is freed and Ultimate departs from the Cosmodrome, the Ultimus ends at the Pentagon. All 4 survive. So basically, after Gersh is freed, Ultimus departs from the Cosmodrome, the outbreak ends at the Pentagon, and all of the 4 characters survive, which is interesting. November 19th, 1963 says, in an effort to avoid another undead outbreak, the U.S. government creates the Broken Arrow program, establishing several facilities across the country. The Groom Lake program is folded into Broken Arrow. So basically, Area 51 is put into Broken Arrow, basically is to combat just all these undead soldiers and the undead armies and everything like that. So it's interesting for sure. It's very, very interesting. August 11th, 1973, Broken Arrow recovers the shard of Element 115 from Division 9. So they were working to stop all the undead armies, kind of figuring out how they can go against them. And then they get an Element 115 kind of shard. And this is the interesting part. This is the first time we hear of our transit crew. Russman begins work at Broken Arrow. Over the course of his employment, his extensive exposure to Element 115 leads to significant memory loss. This is why Russman can never remember anything. He worked at a government facility that was originally designed to kind of like fight zombie outbreaks and kind of do the same kind of stuff that 935 did. And he worked a lot with Element 115 and started losing his memory. That's why Russman can never remember anything. That's, if in case you don't remember, that's the black guy from Transit who's always like can't remember anything. Just put that in perspective. April 20th, 1983, Broken Arrow begins live animal experiments with the shard, creating BIOS, which is another comic thing, which is kind of interesting. I haven't read through all of the comics yet, so that's the kind of stuff I'm gonna be fuzzy on. But there's a little bit of comic stuff, but not much. So we'll keep moving. A containment breach involving the BIOS occurs at one of the Broken Arrow facilities. Russman is one of the few to escape alive. The facility is shut down and abandoned, and its projects are transferred to other locations. So basically, all you need to know from that is Russman was working at a facility, has a lot of memory loss, and then that facility had an outbreak, and it gets closed down. June 24th, 1996, Victus arrives at the abandoned Broken Arrow facility, still being pursued by undead Richtofen. They recover the Element 115 shard and depart through another rift. So again, this is some of the stuff that happens in the comics. Basically, there's Primus, Ultimus, and then Victus. Victus is the transit characters. A big part of what the transit characters do that's not shown in the story is what they do in the comics, which is get the Chronorium for Richtofen. That's their main purpose. They got the Chronorium for Richtofen under his like guidance and everything like that. For what's it called, Primus Richtofen, for 2.0 Richtofen, he was basically telling Victus, which is the transit crew, what to do. And that's how he ended up getting the Chronorium. Here we go. Call of the Dead. This is the explanation of Call of the Dead. March 17th, 2011. Call of the Dead. Upon entering the rift, Ultimus arrives at the Siberian facility in 2011, where they find themselves trapped in a closet while George A. Romero films his latest project at the location. This is why they're all trapped in the closet. You can hear the characters talking. You play as the actors, but Basically, that's talking about like why they're in there and why they. Why they're being teleported there, because they need that Vril device. Samantha, in her pursuit of Ultimate, unleashes an undead outbreak. The film stars fight the undead horde and ultimately recover the Vril device for Richtofen. Ultimus teleports to Shangri-La in an effort to acquire the next artifact they need to defeat Samantha, the Focusing Stone. So basically, they go to Call of the Dead, and the actors there are basically at an old Group 935 facility. And they're trapped in a closet. They get the actors to help them, and then they teleport away and go to Shangri-La. April 11th, 2011. Following the disappearance of Call of the Dead cast and crew, Romero's assistant, Sally, begins to search for her boss. Her journey leads her to Shangri-La during an eclipse, which sends her back in time to April 25th, 1956. So, Sally, the person that you hear in the radios in Shangri-La, some of this stuff you guys might not remember, but the lady you hear in the radios on Shangri-La, basically, she is Romero's assistant that got sent back through time and while kind of figuring out what happened to George Romero when he got turned into like that zombified George Romero, and ends up being teleported to Shangri-La in the past with Brock and Gary. Next page. The best meme of all time. The best meme of all time. April 10th, 2023. Broken Arrow creates the Denizens. So now we're in the Black Ops 2 time now. We're almost to the Black Ops 2 time. This is Moon right here. Broken Arrow creates the Denizens. So Denizens, the reason we have Denizens on Transit, we can thank to Broken Arrow, which created Denizens. Broken Arrow accidentally creates the Avogadro. So July 8th, they created the Avogadro as well. September 1st, 2025, in desperate need of more Element 115, Broken Arrow used an excavator drill near the nuclear testing facility known as Nuketown. So basically, that's Broken Arrow is drilling at Nuketown, looking for more 115. And this is pre-bombing. This is before the Nuketown facility has been bombed. Okay, so now this is the Moon Easter egg. This is the events on Moon. Whenever you play Moon, this is what's happening. October 13th, 2025, Moon. Using the Vril device and the focusing stone, Richtofen completes his grand scheme and swaps bodies with Samantha on the moon, giving him full control of the zombies in the ether. Maxis contacts the remaining members of the Ultimates through the station's electronics and asks for their help to defeat Richtofen. So basically, Richtofen, the first half of the Easter egg is Samantha and Richtofen switching bodies. So Samantha's in Richtofen's body, Richtofen is in Samantha's body inside the MPD. Let's see. So Maxis, you remember Maxis killed himself and merged himself with Griffin Station? He pops back up and he's like, yo, I'm actually still alive. And here's how you can help stop Richtofen. And they agree. And basically, Takio, Nicolae, and Dempsey and Samantha now basically work together to launch missiles at Earth, leaving it fractured and broken. And basically, they sever Richtofen's, and then it says they sever Richtofen's connection with the ether, but he still maintains control over the zombies. So he can no longer access the ether, but he still has control over the zombies. So this is where we're gonna have to read a little bit farther to get the full picture. But once Maxis controls the ether in 2035, which is basically at the end of Buried, he returns to the moon and plucks Samantha from Richtofen's body and to join him in Agartha. You guys are gonna see what that actually means in a second. So basically, what happens on Moon is that Richtofen goes, he switches body with Samantha. Maxis pops up, is like, "Yo, I'm still alive. Also, if you guys would like me to help you out and destroy the Earth, so Richtofen can't like run amok and have it as his own personal playground," they help Maxis destroy the Earth and sever Richtofen's connections with the ether because they're fracturing the Earth and everything. So, not the greatest of plans, but it's a plan. So that's what they do. So right after and then at the same exact time as the events on Moon, you guys remember those radios in Nuketown? The radios in Nuketown are happening the same time as the events on Moon. And October 13th, which is the same day as the events on Moon is going on, a nuclear bomb explodes outside of Nuketown as a result of Broken Arrow's drilling. CIA and CDC operations arrive to find an undead outbreak already in progress. So basically, whenever you show up and you play in Nuketown, you are CIA and CDC agents in the grief mode and everything. You show up to find the outbreak happening, but one of the missiles from the moon hits Nuketown, killing everyone on site. So one of the missiles launched by the characters at the moon kills everybody at the Nuketown, which doesn't really matter, except for Marlton, who's in the nuclear bunker. You guys remember when you knock the bunker and you hear Marlton talking down below? That is basically what happens there. That's basically what happens there. HBD Dad, thank you, Bear Trap, and then Hawkeye, my man. Thank you, dude. What's the crazy place? The crazy place is the bottom of Origins. Not this part, not the part you're seeing right now, but the bottom of Origins, like whenever you teleport through. That's the crazy place. That's where Maxis got the ability to merge with electricity. Thank you for the tip, Chavez. Do you think that'll answer the questions? I don't know if it's Pablo. I don't think it really matters, Hawkeye. I don't think it matters who that picture is, honestly. I don't think we're ever going to find out which one that is at Kino. But anyway, let's keep going. So after that happens, the Earth fracturing triggers farther temporal rifts, teleporting an 1800s American Western town underneath a mining facility in Angola. Arthur is pulled through the rift from 1318, arriving in the now buried town. So Buried basically is teleported. It's a Western town. It's teleported underneath into a mining facility in Africa. That's basically how Buried is, like a Western town buried underground. That's what happened. Earth's fracturing creates that rift and like does that. So basically, when Earth gets blown up, a lot of like fractures in space and time start happening, and that's what teleports Buried underground. November 5th, 2025. Broken Arrow is disbanded after the primary facility is lost in a fire. It is later believed to be an act of arson committed by employees destroying the evidence implicating them in the outbreak. So basically, what happened with all the zombies coming out on Earth? One of the members of Broken Arrow, it's thought to be that this is the crazy place by the way right now that I'm in. And he like destroys the entire facility, which is kind of messed up, but that's what he does. Russman and his mind broken after 40 years of exposure to Element 105 begins to wander to the Earth. So basically, transit. This is when Russman's kind of wandering, and they meet up with the other transit characters. March 18th, 2027, in a distress call, former CDC Assistant Director George Barkley reveals that the infectious contaminants have gone airborne. He advises a caution regarding any allies showing support of short-term memory loss, psychosis, delusion, and paranoia. So basically, 115 goes airborne, and that it's basically affecting everyone. So you have to have like the mask on and everything like that. March 27th, 2027 says the Society of the Survivors Who Eat the Undead is formed. They are the Flesh. So basically, Samuel Stuhlinger was a member of the Flesh at one point. He basically ate zombies. They thought that you have to like eat the zombies in order to assert dominance or something. But there it is. On May 12th, Samuel joins the flesh. So Samuel used to eat zombies, which is weird, and part of why he's so crazy. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. June 18th, 2027, through the consumption of undead meat, the flesh begin hearing Richtofen's voice. He tries to persuade them to build global polarization devices for him in pursuit of his new plan to mend the rift in space and time and acquire full control over the ether. So, again, just to recap. On Moon, Maxis blows up the Earth and basically creates a huge rift in the ether, and Richtofen does not have full control of everything because he's merged with the ether, but he can't access it because the Earth has been fractured. So the different Easter eggs and buried, die-rise, and transit, those 3 devices that you activate with one color or another, that's what he needs to have full control over the ether again. So he's trying to get the people who eat the 115, get 115 in their system, become like kind of partially zombie. He can talk to them because he has control over zombies, and tries to get the flesh, these people who eat the flesh, to do what he wants, which is to get full control over the ether again, so he can basically rule everything. So that's Richtofen's plan. That's 1.0 Richtofen's plan. He's gone through that. 1.0 Richtofen is still the Richtofen that's talking to Samuel Stuhlinger in his head and everything like that the entire time. We haven't heard from 2.0 Richtofen or Permis Richtofen in a while. June 28th, 2027, Maxis begins communicating with survivors of Earth who are telling those who are willing to listen to build global polarization devices for him instead of Richtofen in pursuit of his new plan. To open Agartha, reunite him with Samantha, and even though it will result in the destruction of Earth. So he just wants to be with Samantha. Samantha's kind of like lost to Agartha right now. And his plan is that if he can have these people he's talking to over the radio help him out, he'll be able to be reunited with Samantha, even though it's going to destroy the entire Earth. He doesn't really matter. As long as he has control of the ether, he can be reunited with his daughter, which is all he cares about. And he doesn't really care about anyone else. April 4th, 2028, the Flesh broadcast. So this is all in Black Ops 2 time right now, guys. April 4th, 2028, the Flesh broadcasts their message across all frequencies, telling others to heed our call, and that the path to enlightenment can be achieved by consuming the undead. So they're basically just recruiting more people into the Flesh. Maxis' followers begin constructing a spire near the Hanford site facility, so this is transit on December 9th. January 3rd, 2029, Maxis' followers begin to doubt him, believing that he may in fact be evil, and they destroy their electronics. So Maxis is talking to him. They think, hey, this guy might actually be evil, and they smash up all their electronics so that Maxis can't talk to him anymore because he's merged with this electricity, and that's the only way he can talk to people is the electronics. On March 2nd, so like a month later, Maxis' followers attempt to speak to him again. Many have begun to hear Richtofen, and those loyal to Maxis eagerly await further instructions. So they started eating flesh. They started to hear Richtofen, either through eating flesh themselves or all the 115 in the air. They start to hear Richtofen. They're like, okay, we got to help out Maxis. We like Maxis better than Richtofen. So they start listening for him again. A broadcast is sent out confirming the fall of the Flesh and Maxis' follower, with each group hearing the voice of either Richtofen or Maxis. A battle broke out between them. As they fought, a zombie horde moved in and destroyed all who remained. Stuhlinger is one of the few to escape. Richtofen and Maxis are left with no one to communicate near Greenland, where the first polarization device must be instructed. So basically, there was lots of survivors on Earth. They had a big battle. Maxis' followers, Richtofen's followers, they all fought each other, and then the zombies came in and wiped out everyone, and just a few survivors. Stuhlinger was one of them, and obviously we have Russman still surviving, and then Stuhlinger bumps in. There you go. October 13th, Stuhlinger bumps into Russman, who has stolen a bus from the abandoned Broken Arrow facility. Transit. So here's the actual events of Transit. So this was all kind of like the lead up to Transit. So October 21st, 2035, Stuhlinger and Russman run into Marlton and Abigail Misty Briarton at a diner near the Hanford site facility. So basically, right on Transit, all these characters run into each other, and Maxis asks them to complete the polarization device in his favor, and then Stuhlinger is being affected by Richtofen talking to him. But let's see. Stuhlinger, having consumed zombie meat, is contacted by Richtofen, who orders Stuhlinger to construct the device for him instead. The crew constructs the device for Maxis, and the four would be known as Victus. So basically, Transit crew is Victus, and this is important. Basically, Blundell is saying through the Chronorium, through what happened, or maybe this is just the excerpt of the Chronorium. Maybe there's another excerpt where it's all the same, except they do it for Richtofen. It doesn't really matter. But in the storyline, he is saying, you know how in Black Ops 2 where you have two different kind of like passes, like you can go with the Richtofen side or the Maxis side on all the maps. the storyline that Blundell is laying out is saying that you went on the Maxis side and that's what happens. There might be another universe, but we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about what happens if you do the Maxis side, and that's where he goes from there. So October 22nd, 2035, on Die Rise, hoping to regain control, Richtofen teleports Victus to Providence 22, where he demands that Steelers activate the second polarization device. So Richtofen teleports them there, and that's where they're arriving. And he wants them to mend the rift so he can be in full control of the ether again and have power over everyone. But once again, the crew sides with Mactus. The voices cease for some time, leaving Victus to wander the earth. So they don't hear anything for a while. They just start walking around after Die Rise. They just start walking. They were teleported from transit to Die Rise. Richtofen hoping he can convince Duelinger to convince them to do it for him, but they don't do it. They do it for Maxis again. So on Buried, once again, Victus arrives in an old western town now located beneath a mining facility in Angola. They discovered Arthur in a jail cell, and he assists them on their journey. So they find Leroy, which again was a guy from the 1300s who was the servant of the Wolf King, which is so cool to me. He assists them in their journey. The voices of Maxis and Richtofen return. They activate the final polarization device in Maxis' favor. Now corrupted by dark ether. So Maxis has this entire time said he's the only way to do this stuff. He's been tricking them, but he's been corrupted by dark ether as well. So he reveals his true intentions to Victus and punishes Richtofen by trapping his soul inside of a zombie. So he plucks Richtofen out of Samantha's soul, out of Samantha's body on the moon. Who has been control of the zombies, but hasn't had full control. But once Maxis gets complete control of the dark ether, he plucks Richtofen out and puts him into the soul of a zombie. Drawn into Agartha by her father, Samantha witnesses the evil that has corrupted him. When a rift opens in Dimension 63 in 1918, she reaches out to that timeline's Maxis for help. So basically, this is big. This is the number one thing that you need to know to explain Origins, okay? The number one thing you need to know. So Samantha was just an innocent girl. She was corrupted by dark ether whenever she was pulled into the MPD device. Whenever she got pulled back out, she kind of returned to normal. And then she realized holy crap, my dad just literally sacrificed the entire earth to be with me. He's pretty darn evil, and she's pulled into Agartha and sees how corrupted he is by this dark ether. The same thing that makes the Apothecans evil is the things that made her dad evil. She he gets revenge on Richtofen, blows up the whole earth. It's bad. He's not a nice guy. Samantha sees that, and a rift opens up in Dimension 63 where Origins is taking place, right? Origins is taking place in Dimension 63 and in 1918, which is the gameplay you're watching now. That's the Samantha you hear. You hear the Samantha trapped in Agartha, reaching out to the Maxis. Now, obviously, Maxis is already in a drone when this starts, but he wasn't always in a drone. He basically worked with 115 too much and then Richtofen put him into a drone to save him because he was gonna die. His body was catatonic. So Richtofen puts him into 2.0. Richtofen puts him into a drone to save him, but before that, the voices that Maxis hears. And the entire Origins Easter egg is you freeing Samantha from the dark ether that happened in the so she's stuck with buried Maxis, and it's hard to get your mind around it, but once you get your mind around it, you're good. Agartha is the source of all power, all energy, the end all be all. If you control the Agartha and if you control the ether, Agartha's the place, and Ether's the stuff, basically. Ether and Agartha are just synonymous with power, insane power, and being able to do whatever you want, and being able to control Element 1-5 and everything like that. The reason the Keepers are so powerful is because of Ether, and Ether's the what, Agartha's the where. So basically, he plucks Richtofen's soul out of Samantha's body and puts his soul into a zombie. And then he plucks Samantha's soul out of Richtofen's body and puts it with him in the ether, the dark ether. And she sees how evil she is and reaches out into a different dimension, a different version of her dad. Because Maxis that's in the Maxis drone and Maxis that existed at the Origins facility before it was overrun by zombies didn't have a daughter. But he reaches out to that version. She reaches out to that version of her dad for help. So there you go. Okay, January 10th, 2036, Richtofen instructs undead Richtofen to pursue Victus and recover their blood vials. So this is part of the comics as well. It's not something I'm going to understand very, very well because I haven't gone through all the comics. So this is something that happens in the comics, January 10th. January 19th, Primus Richtofen begins to manipulate Stuhlinger, opening a rift for Victus to begin their new journey. Pursued by undead Richtofen and an army of undead, Victus enters the rift. Again, more comic stuff. This is basically Richtofen is getting undead Richtofen to get the blood, just to get the blood vials, and then Primus Richtofen is getting them to go. Basically, all you need to know from this is that now that Buried is over, Richtofen is getting them. They're being pursued by undead Richtofen, which is bad, and they're being told by Primus Richtofen to go and collect the Chronorium because he needs the Chronorium. That's where Transit Crew goes. After that, they go for the Chronorium. Okay. Maxis destroys Earth and all of its surviving inhabitants. Again, he's evil. The same day, pretty much 19 days after he gets power, he destroys everything and closes off the entire dimension, man. He basically ends all life on Earth and closes off that dimension. And Samantha is trapped with him in the ether. So, it's pretty bad. So that's the entire story of what happens with the 1.0 characters. So 1.0 characters and Transit Crew are all in the same universe. That's everything that happens there. Primus Richtofen comes in and out. He goes in and out of the universe, but basically 1.0 characters and Primus Richtofen, 2.0 Richtofen goes in and out, and then the Transit characters all exist in the same universe that starts and then ends with Maxis destroying everything. So now we're going to talk about Dimension 63. So that was basically the first chapter down. That was like the next three chapters are very, very short compared to the first one. But that's basically what happened with the first one. Do you guys have any questions about that? Do you guys have any questions? We're well over halfway done now because this is very, very, this is the second longest one. The other two are extremely short. QQQ, thank you for that. Hey man, I can't believe it's the first time I'm catching a stream. These streams are so lit. And when Blood Never revealed the whole storyline, it was, yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. DLC 5, hi boy, appreciate that tip. Any questions? Any questions? This is hurting my brain, dude. This is like, it's hard, but you're. Who is Victus? Victus is the Transit Crew. Victus is Transit Crew. So who is Richtofen? Richtofen, basically the evil Richtofen. So here was evil Richtofen. Here's 1.0 Richtofen. He worked for the Illuminati. He worked for Group 935. He was the Richtofen on Moon, he was Richtofen on Duris, who tried to kill Samantha and Maxis and Fluffy. He went to Moon. He swapped bodies with Samantha in order to take control of all the zombies in the ether. But when Maxis blew up the Earth, he couldn't have full control over the entire universe. And then he tries to get the Transit Crew to get the device put the polarization devices so he can assume full control of the ether once again. But it doesn't work. He does not get full control, and then Maxis punishes him indefinitely for life by putting his soul into a zombie. That's basically what happened with 1.0 Richtofen. 2.0 Richtofen is the Primus Richtofen, which we're going to hear more about it right now. So this is the next kind of section here. Okay, I'll answer a few more questions here. Where's the Victus Crew now? Victus Crew at this point in the story, obviously, we're gonna go back to 1292, but after, basically all you need to know is after Buried, the Transit Crew went to go help Richtofen get the Chronorium, which you're gonna see come into play right here. What is an Avogadro? It was created by the United States version of Group 935 on accident. How's my day? It's good. It's good. Why does Maxis destroy the Earth? He's corrupted by the dark ether. So ether is like, it's a bunch of, it's very, very powerful, but if you just have ether, you're fine. That's what the keepers are. Keepers are good. They have ether, it's fine. Apothegons have dark ether. Dark ether is not good. Dark ether is what causes people to go crazy, and Maxis basically kills everyone because of dark ether. He's a good guy, but he turns evil because he's corrupted by dark ether. That's what happens. What happened to the Moon Crew? The Moon Crew, they're not really brought up at all. Moon Crew it doesn't talk about it at all. I assume they just live on the moon base or they end up dying there. They are never, the 1.0 characters are never brought up again after Moon. Never once brought up again after Moon. So we don't know. We don't know. What corrupted Maxis, or who corrupted Maxis? It was the Dark Ether. Dark Ether. It's just like an energy. Think of like the cube from Transformers. It's just a lot of power, and but there's like a dark side to it. And if you go, basically it's the dark side of the Force, I guess would be an easy way. Okay, we're good. Azure Ace, thank you for that. Most questions answered. Got a lot of in the zombies community. Oh yeah, for sure. How are the rifts created that teleport things? Basically, when the Earth is all blown, that part isn't. There's not like a formula of like what creates a temporal rift, what creates all these rifts, but like even Maxis destroying the Earth completely creates a rift that Samantha like reaches out for help. Like, I don't want to be here with my crazy AF dad. Like destroying the Earth in the first place created rifts. Rifts are basically just like stuff that happens. Basically, big events create rifts. And that's really, and then you can create rifts on purpose if you have control of the ether or control of like the chronorium, stuff like that. So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on. I'll do an entire question and answer session at the very, very end. But let's keep moving. So Dimension 63. This is where a lot of important stuff happens as well. This is just another so let's just say we don't know what dimension number it is, but let's just say for clarity's sake, everything we just read was Dimension 61. Now we're reading Dimension 63. It's just an alternate version of reality that also exists at the same time as this one. So, in Dimension 63, the Great War between humanity and the Apothicons begins. So, this right here, the Great War between humanity and the Apothicons beginning, this is where Dr. Monty, at the end of the Revelations cutscenes, sends our characters. He sends them to the start of the Great War, and that is basically the humanity and the Apothicons are fighting against one another. And that's all you need to know. Sir Pablo Marinus is saved from the clutches of Amargua by 4 unknown heroes that will later become known as Primus. Together with the Keeper, April 14th, 1294, December 31st, 1299. Together with the Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicons, bringing it into a great war. So basically, this great war is the time loop that the Origins characters are stuck in. And together with Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicons, bringing it into a great war. So that's where our Primus comes into play, and they're saved. Pablo Marinus is saved from Amargua by Primus, and Primus basically defeats all the Apothicons. Right? That's the time loop that they're kind of stuck in. January 1st, 1300, before they seemingly disappear from history, Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendrache. So basically, let me make sure. Yeah, we're good. So Pablo documents the Great War, or Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendrache. So again, same thing happens in this timeline. Primus helps bring it into the Apothicons, and instructs the Wolf King to build Der Eisendrache. February 18th, 1300, Pablo begins documenting the Great War, including all that he has learned about the Keepers, the Apothicons, and Element 115. So Pablo begins documenting all the stuff that he was saved by these Primus people and everything like that. Regarding Element 115's power, he notes that a site in northern France contains a massive deposit of the element, which is the Origins gameplay you're watching. That's what he's talking about. There's a ton of Element 115. It's actually the biggest deposit of Element 115 known to man. I don't think we've read that yet, but it's the biggest Element 115 deposit ever. Let's see. June 4th, 1300, in northern France, a tomb is constructed to honor the fallen soldiers of the Great War. Within it, the statues of the Primus are constructed to symbolize the hope that that if one day a great evil falls upon the mankind, they may return. So basically, the tomb that I'm actually going to right now in the statues, this is perfect timing, that I'm literally about to look at in the gameplay up there, that's what was constructed as like those statues right there. They were constructed in northern France, a great tomb after the Great War. So those statues were constructed way a long time ago. I mean, like a long time ago. And the 1300s were coming here much later when there's technology and all that stuff. But that tomb has been there for a long time as like the people who saved the humanity from the Apothicons, which is Primus 2.0 characters. So on July 17th, 1987, Edward Richtofen's parents die. So basically, Edward's born like in the 1800s, and this timeline his parents die, and so basically Primus goes back in time to fight the Great War, which is what happens at the end of Revelations. But Primus goes back in time. Edward wasn't technically born yet, but then later on in this dimension, after they save humanity from the Apothicons, he's actually born, and then his parents die. So February 20th, 1905, Takeo Masaki fights in the Battle of Mukden. August 11th, 1906, Richtofen begins his studies at Heidelberg University under the tutelage of Dr. Ludwig Maxis. Having lost his parents, Richtofen comes to view him as a father figure. So in this universe, in the alternate, in comparison to the first universe, in this universe, Maxis and Richtofen are kind of like colleagues. Maxis is older. Richtofen's like, he's a father figure. Neither of them are evil in this dimension. Richtofen was basically, the dark ether corrupted both of them in the last dimensions, and the dimensions we just read about. In this dimension, they're both good people. They're both good. They studied together at a university. And Richtofen sees him as a father figure. July 3rd, 1912, Richtofen and Maxis join Group 935. So in this dimension, Maxis does not create Group 935, but they both join it for like the betterment of humanity. June 4th, 1914, Richtofen is visited by another version of himself. Handing him some blood vials, he explains, "You will need this blood when the time comes. It will protect you before stepping back through the rift." So basically, you remember how Origins Richtofen has these blood vials on his chest? Those blood vials came from another version of himself that visited and said, "You're gonna need this blood. Keep it with you, and when the time comes, it'll be useful. It'll protect you when the time comes." So that's how Richtofen has these blood vials from Mob of the Dead at the beginning of Origins, and you'll see that he has them with him all the time, and you'll see that with them whenever the events of Origins show. January 5th, 1915 says Maxis invents the Mauser prototype. So Mauser was invented by Maxis, pretty cool. August 28th, 1916, the Journal of Sir Pablo Meritus, Night of the Great War, is discovered by Group 935. So basically talking about Primus and everything that doesn't actually exist yet. Like Richtofen has not become Primus yet, but he reads the diary talking about himself, which is kind of weird because he goes back in time to fight the Great War. March 23rd, 1917, using the information gathered from Pablo's journal, Group at 935 begins work at a dig site in northern France where they discover a series of underground tomes. So basically, this is the first time that Origins is actually being like worked on and discovered with Group 935, and they start talking about it or going through it from Pablo's journal because they know it's a massive site of Element 115. April 21st, 1917. Group 935 discover what appears to be an entrance to the tomb's main chamber. They struggle to gain access. So basically, they find the main chamber, which is the crazy place, but they can't get in. On May 11th, unable to access the main chamber, the soldiers listen to a gramophone to alleviate, or not the crazy place, sorry, the big dig site in the middle. Unable to access the main chambers, the soldiers listen to a gramophone to alleviate their frustration when listening to a recording of La Source Noire. The entrance of the main chamber unexpectedly opens, and the camp's exposure to Element 115 begins. So basically, the big storage is down where the staffs are built, and they put the gramophone up there, and the music opens it up. As you guys know, the music opens the gateways and the doors and everything. May 21st, 1917, using the information from Pablo's journal and the tome's main chamber, Maxis draws schematics for the creation of 4 elemental staffs and instructs Richtofen to begin their construction. So basically, Pablo's journal talked about the staffs, and Maxis draws the schematics for him and says like, "Yo, Richtofen, they're gonna be buddies this entire time. It's not bad Richtofen, it's good Maxis, good Richtofen." They're like, "Hey, start working on these staffs. We're gonna create copies of the staffs that were in Pablo's journal." Okay. May 29th, 1917, the more Maxis reads of the Great War, the more he begins to question his understanding of the scientific world and the true nature of the universe itself. He finds himself open to the possibility of a higher power. So basically, Maxis is saying, "Yo, we might not be the most powerful things. Humans might not be. There's probably a higher power," which he's right. Dr. Monty, Shadow Man, stuff like that. So he's right. June 11th, as Group 935 experiments with Element 115, they successfully create localized energy fields which appear to function as portals, which gets them to the crazy place. Nothing that objects can pass through time. Maxis speculates that the rifts may have been opening gateways across space and time. The rifts allow Samantha to reach out to Maxis from Agartha. She begs for his help and ultimately reveals she is his daughter. So basically, you remember at the very end, Samantha is stuck with her dimension, her first dad, the dad in the main dimension that most of the storyline takes place in. She's stuck with him in Agartha. He's destroyed the Earth. He's evil. He's corrupted by the dark ether. Whenever Maxis starts experimenting with all this 115, he creates a portal, and Samantha has this portal, and she talks to this Maxis that's in the Origins universe, Dimension 63, saying, yo, you must help me, please. Like, I'm trapped here. That's Samantha talking from evil Richtofen, stuck with evil Maxis, corrupted by the Dark Ether, talking to normal Maxis. And normal Maxis doesn't have a daughter, but she says, I'm your daughter from another dimension to him. And he's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And he agrees to kind of like help her. June 15th, 1917, an ancient box with the power to manifest weapons from different eras arrives through a portal. Maxis fears Element 115 is disrupting the space-time continuum, so mystery box is brought into play right there. July 1st, 1917, following the installation of Element 115 powered generators, it reports to the surface regarding an ancient figures emerging from the dig site, corresponding with the mysterious deaths of a number of Group 935 soldiers. The ancient figures are undead knights from the Great War. So basically, the first couple zombies start being reanimated whenever they create the 115 generator converters that are obviously the power around on Origins, and they start kind of resurrecting some soldiers. August 3rd, 1917, Nicolae Belinsky is sent into exile. So Nicolae Belinsky is, he's having a bad time. He's sent into exile, and yeah. So that's what happens. That's what happens with Nicolae. Tyler C. Okay, I'll explain this later, Tyler. I'll explain it later. Just keep watching. And Hawkeye, yeah, dude, it would be sick if they made a movie out of this. Do you think that Avogadro might? No, Avogadro's not related to Maxis. It was just an accidental creation by Broken Arrow. And then Real JT, hopefully soon, dude. I'll do another Easter eggs with randoms. Reading me a book before sleeping DLC. Yes, it is, Mikey Rick. Thank you. Student says, I like when Teacher J456 reads out loud to a class of thousands. It's pretty great, huh? Okay. I have a question. Do you mind repeating that? I hate you, Awkward Turtle. Thank you for all the tips, guys. All right, we're caught up. Let's keep moving. September 10th, 1917. Using Element 115, Group 935 constructs Freya, Odin, and Thor, giant robots who they believe will secure victory for the Central Powers. Hence, the robots on Origins are created by Group 935 and Dimension 63, which is where Origins takes place. Richtofen sends notes that inspire Group 935's progress at the dig site. He's troubled by Max's growing obsession with Pablo's diary. So Maxis is being affected by the Element 115 in like a memory loss, like kind of like being obsessed with it type of way. He's not evil, but he's being affected by it. Like it's affecting his body and his mind and everything like that, because Element 115 does cause the memory loss and the obsessions and stuff like that. So, yep. So let's keep moving. October 6th, 1917, Taki Masaki is dispatched to France by the Emperors to gather intel on Group 935's weapon technology. So at the very beginning of Origins, in the cutscene, like all the soldiers are like Dempsey, Takio, Nicolae, and the Richtofen standing there. Just put Max's brain into the jar. We'll talk about that in a second. Or the Maxis drone. All the soldiers are meeting each other for the first time on Origins. That's premise meets each other for the first time at the beginning of the Origins cutscene. So it's important. So moving on, let's see. Takio shows up there because he's sent by the Emperor to gather intel. So that's why he's there. Following the reports of the prototype armory weapons and strange lights around the sky and a mysterious plague and the giant metal men, Tank Dempsey is deployed in northern France to assess the extent of Group 935's capabilities. So again, he's being a soldier for his army, the United States instead of Japan, but he goes over there to check out what's going on. And then already exiled in Europe, Nicolae receives new orders from the Imperial Russian Army to investigate the enemy war machine. Still loyal to the motherland, he willingly obliges. So he gets exiled, but then they give him new orders. He's like, oh heck yeah, I'm going. So Nicolae, Takio, and Dempsey are all headed to Origins to assess what's going on with everything. They're all on their way. February 23rd, 1918 says Nicolae writes of the ongoing civil war in his homeland. He does not expect the peace to last long, but he is enjoying his time in France. So, just a letter.
$1.43 pending in my bank, less than 3.
Yo, thank you, Fuji. Appreciate that much, dude. I can't click on that link because I don't recognize the source, but I do appreciate it very much. Thank you for that 15 bomb, dude. Let's see. So March 2nd, 1918 says, learning that the Emperor wishes to meet him to discuss a matter of great importance to our nation. Takio writes that he feels a growing sense of dread in the wake of his recent dark and twisted dreams. So it's just talking about Takio's letters to the Emperor, and he has a sense of dread. April 14th, 1918 says, despite ongoing battles, Dempsey fares well in northern France. In a personal letter, he reveals that both the Japanese and Russian armies have also spent sides to investigate the activities of Group 935. So he knows about, Dempsey knows that Takio and Nicolae are also spying there, and writes back home saying, like, yes, there are other spies here. So May 1st, 1918, Maxis is still communicating with Samantha, who's trapped with evil Maxis. Good Maxis is obsessed with the voice of Samantha, who now speaks to him constantly. He believes her to be the key to everything. So obviously, if you have like someone from another dimension talking to you, it's pretty much a key. May 12th says, believing his mentor is officially has been affected by group element 115 like no other at the dig site. Richtofen reports Maxis' erratic behavior to the group 935 senior staff. So he just wants the best for Maxis. Richtofen cares a lot about Maxis, and he basically says like, yo, Max, there's something going on with Maxis. This is not good. He reports it. May 13th, Richtofen learns from Prabla's journal that the northern France dig site may be the single largest deposit of element 115 on Earth. He believes that this also explains why it has affected so many at the site. So that's why everyone's being affected by this at 115. May 14th, 1918 says, now completely consumed by Samantha's voice, Maxis swears that he will no longer serve 935's mission. So Maxis is like, he's really, really under the spell of Samantha, who's not not bad, but he really wants to help her, and he really wants to figure out like how that some girl from another dimension is talking to him. So here are the events of Origins. So here's actually what happens in Origins. So June 4th, 1918, Origins. Element 115 awakens the undead knights from the Great War that quickly consumes the camp. So pretty much all at once, the rest of the soldiers get woken up and become zombies and attack, killing everyone. Beginning of the Origins cutscene, you remember that? Maxis is rendered catatonic by the element, and Richtofen removes his brain before he turns. So basically, Maxis is catatonic, and Richtofen takes his brain out, puts it in the Maxis drone so Maxis can survive. He has to do it, or else Maxis is gone forever. He has to put him in a drone. He just has to. Richtofen removes his brain before he turns. Dincy, Nicolae, and Takio unite with Richtofen on the battlefield and help free Samantha from her imprisonment in Agartha. So they do the Origins Easter egg, basically. They don't know each other beforehand, but they hear this little girl talking, and they help her out, and they help her escape the clutches of evil Maxis, and opens the gateway to Agartha so she can escape. Let's see. Primus has been reunited. So Primus has been reunited because they were united in the past. So basically, this is the first time Primus is meeting. The 2.0 characters are meeting. They're going to go do a bunch of crap. And then Dr. Mati is going to teleport them back like thousands of years or hundreds of years rather, to the 1200s, where they're going to fight the Great War. So they haven't met in the 1200s, but now in the 1918, they're meeting for the first time. So they're going, and then they get teleported back, and they all know each other, and then they're the saviors of mankind back in the past. So, Maxis' brain arrives in Agartha, and Dr. Monty decides to step in. Monty brings Maxis' brain to the house and wipes Maxis, corrupted by the dark ether form, from existence. So basically, after Maxis is brought to the house, Dr. Monty's perfect house, free from the apothecons and everything like that, Monty basically creates this universe that is the perfect world. And Maxis' brain is sent to that house, but he doesn't have a soul, just his brain, just his being. And Monty takes his brain and wipes the Maxis that destroyed everything and buried. The evil Maxis that had like Samantha with her, Monty wipes him from existence. So that now truly the entire realm that happened in the first in Black Ops 1 and World at War, that entire realm is gone forever now. Like he straight up wipes them from existence. Monty's a savage dude. So Monty has officially wiped him from existence, and that is the Origins Easter egg. So there you go. So that's all we get for now. Hopefully that explains the Origins Easter egg. If not, I will answer all of your questions that happen at the end of this reading. So Mob of the Dead. Now we're talking about the Mob of the Dead storyline, which is super cool. So Salvador Sal DeLuca opens gambling houses across Chicago. This marks the beginning of the DeLuca crime family. So basically, Sal DeLuca starts his crime family, and Billy Handsome joins the DeLuca crime family as a hitman. Sal will come to look at Billy as a son he never had. So there you go. September 18th, 1923, as an expert in gambling and rigging a sport. So this is in the same universe that Origins has occurred. This is the same universe as Origins. Origins and Mob of the Dead are in the same universe, which is crazy. An expert in gambling and rigging sporting events, Michael Finn O'Leary begins working for Sal. So basically, they're all gangsters working together. Finn marries Angelina Bow, an aspiring starlet with delusions of grandeur. So basically, she thinks she's going to be famous. but you know, she ain't gonna be famous. She has delusions of grandeur. That's what that means. Sal writes of his frustration with the Chicago's finalists. After many years of successful bribes with the city, it becomes clear they're no longer an option. So Sal's been bribing off the police forever, and no longer do they want to. Does he want to do that? So he breaks off. So the bribes aren't working anymore, basically. May 11th, 1930 says Sal begins work with Albert Al Arlington, an associate in Los Angeles known better for being a master schemer and a bank robber. So there's our 4 characters, all in this the DeLuca crime family. Finn informs the lawyer that will not accept divorce papers from Angela, saying she can leave this marriage the day she leaves this earth. So he's not a great husband, and his wife wants out of the marriage, and he goes, nope, no thanks. We're going to keep you here in a marriage until you die. So, you know. October 11th, 1931 says after an LA heist for Sal goes wrong, Al wakes up in a hospital. So Sal goes wrong. So basically, Sal like punishes Al because he messed up a heist for them. And while in the hospital, Al succumbs to submits Icarus from Mars, a publication as a comic strip. It is his 3rd attempt and is denied again. So basically, Al the Weasel does the comics, right? He writes the comments. And he submits it as a publication for the comic strip, and it's denied again. So he's upset, angry and frustrated. So November 11th, 1931. That's the comic that we see in Mob of the Dead. Icarus from Mars. Angry and frustrated with the collapsing empire, Sal kills a prostitute. No longer willing to turn a blind eye, Chicago PD arrest him. So he's frustrated and he kills a prostitute, and then gets arrested. In an operation against the DeLuca crime family, Billy is arrested for multiple homicides. So he gets taken down on December 1st, and then on December 19th, in an operation against the DeLuca crime family, Finn is arrested by the Chicago PD when his wife offers evidence against him. So his wife kind of like, you know, got him back on that because she turned him in on all the evidence and everything like that. So that's all 4 of our characters in jail. Or Al is arrested for his role in the LA heist on January 19th. So at this point, all 4 of the characters have been arrested. Sal is found guilty of murder and is sentenced to life in Alcatraz on May 14th. On May 16th, Billy is found guilty of 116 counts of murder. Holy crap. He is sentenced to life in prison in Alcatraz as well. Finn is found guilty of 16 counts of gambling fraud. This is like 14 days later. He will serve his sentence at Alcatraz, and Bill and Sally. And then June 13th, Sal and Bill arrive at Alcatraz Island, and then on 30th, Finn arrives at Alcatraz Island, and on July 1st, Al is found guilty of grand larceny, grand theft, auto arson, conspiracy, and battery. He will serve his sentence at Alcatraz as well. And then August 3rd, Al arrives at Alcatraz Island. So basically, all that story, all that stuff is just leading up to all 4 of our characters being from the same crime family, all working together, and all getting arrested, ended up on Alcatraz on life sentence. So now all of our characters are at Alcatraz. On January 1st, 1933, Stanley Ferguson begins working at Alcatraz Island. So Stanley Ferguson is the guard that is killed in the Mob of the Dead intro cutscene, okay? But I'll explain that in a second, actually. April 1st, 1933. So this is what actually happened. This is what actually happened right here. Al convinces Sal, Finn, and Billy that they can build a plane and escape Alcatraz. On December 2nd, 1933, realizing the plane will never be completed and embittered with rage, Sal, Finn, and Billy plot to get revenge on Al. And on December 31st, 1933, Sal, Finn, and Billy lure Al to the roof and kill him. So that's what happened. Now we have a little blob right here of Mob of the Dead. So basically, right after, so this is not what actually happens in reality, but this is what happens for the 4 characters. Mob of the Dead. So this is the entire Mob of the Dead map. This is what's happening. Sal, Finn, and Billy and Al battle waves of the undead as they find themselves trapped in a seemingly endless cycle. So basically, the entirety of Mob of the Dead is them being punished for what they did to Al, and they're just stuck in this cycle over and over and over of waking up, carrying out the plan, killing the guard, and the guard does not die in real life. The guard does not die. Stanley Ferguson is the guard that they kill in the cutscene. And in reality, Stanley Ferguson does not die, but obviously in the cutscene he dies because this is what happens like every single day when they wake up in the in this kind of like purgatory that they are in. That's what's happening in Mob of the Dead. However, what actually happens in reality, their souls are stuck in this kind of like cycle. But what actually happens from then on out is basically they kill Al, and on January 11th, like 11 days later, stepping through a rift, Richtofen secures the blood samples of Sal and Finn. So Richtofen steps through, grabs their blood samples, and 8 days later, found guilty of Al's murder, Sal, Finn, and Billy are executed by electric chair. So they all die. They all die right there, and Sal, Finn, and Billy are all dead, and then Al was murdered by them. So that's what actually happened. And then, but what's happening for them? That's what happened for everyone else in the entire Dimension 63. But what happened for Sal, Finn, Bill, and Al they're stuck in that time loop. Everyone else's life goes on, and that's what happens. They don't kill Stanley Ferguson in reality. On April 16th, 1940, Richtofen arrives in Dimension 63, where he is contacted by members of the Illuminati and enlists their help to build a laboratory beneath Alcatraz. So Richtofen shows. So this is not. What's it called? This is like the Richtofen that's been planning everything. This is the Richtofen that knows he must do. And he is contacted by members of he contacts the Illuminati and enlists their help to build a laboratory beneath Alcatraz, which we never knew existed. There is actually a Group 935 facility underneath Alcatraz that we never knew existed. It's really, really cool. It explains a lot of stuff, but we never knew that before. So next up, April 18th, 1940, Richtofen meets with Stanley Ferguson and convinces him to assist with the Illuminati's construction of the Alcatraz laboratory. So Stanley Ferguson is still a guard at the base and at Alcatraz, and he enlists his help with the Alcatraz facility or laboratory. On July 3rd, 1941, Stanley Ferguson reports that the laboratory has been completed and the subjects will be placed in the stasis chambers upon arrival. We'll hear more about this and who the actual subjects are in just a second. So the Mob of the Dead characters are already dead, but Stanley Ferguson is still helping out with Richtofen's plan. July 4th, 1941. Richtofen returns to the lab under Alcatraz, where we meet Victus. Upon arriving from empty Earth at the Chronorium, upon reading the Chronorium, Richtofen discovers numerous timelines documenting their fates and learns about the blood vials, which he would later write on the page, "I know what I must do, Edward Richtofen, 4741. Richtofen enters a rift to require the blood of Sal and Finn. So basically, he finds out that he needs the blood in order as an insurance policy to save him from being erased from existence. He finds out about that after the characters have died, after Sal, Finn O'Leary, all those guys have died. So he goes back in time and collects their blood right before 8 days before they were executed. So he goes back, and then after delivering the blood to his younger self, so that's when he goes through and he delivers the blood to his younger self, which is crazy. I mean, he goes back in time. So he has the Chronorium now. He has the Chronorium, right? That the transit crew delivered to him. That's what they did in the comics. They got the Chronorium and delivered it to him underneath Alcatraz. He gets the Chronorium, realizes what he has to do, goes back in time, grabs the blood from the two characters, goes forward in time, or is it back? I think it's, yeah, he goes back even farther to his younger self, recovering the blood vials that belong to Victus as he returns. Victus is placed on ice to be kept safe until they are needed next. So basically, Victus is put on ice in the Alcatraz facility underneath the ground. Are you guys with me? Is everyone with me now? There's a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on, but it should be hopefully it's making sense. So basically, Stanley Ferguson helped, and then he puts the Victus on ice to be kept safe until Richtofen needs them next. So July 4th, Primus arrives and collects the Victus blood samples from Richtofen. Following Primus's departure, Richtofen learns the new location of the summoning key and travels to his next destination. So basically, this is what happens right before he teleports to Shadows of Evil. Right before he travels to Shadows of Evil, he goes and he collects the blood of the transit characters who have delivered the Chronorium to him. He collects their souls, or their blood. He delivers the blood of the Mob of the Dead characters to all of the other to all the other Primus characters as their insurance policy that we see in Revelations. They have all got the little blood vials. He delivers those, and then he sets off to go learn the location of the summoning key. October 1st, 1942, so like a year later, Stanley Ferguson leaves employment at Alcatraz, so he stops working at Alcatraz. On October 21st, 1943, posing as Mr. Rapp, the Shadow Man hires a reporter to recover artifacts from the South Pacific, recover the artifacts from the South Pacific and Russia. So Shadow Man has been dormant for a very long time. He hasn't been doing a lot of stuff, but in this dimension, he decides it's time to make his move. Posing as Mr. Rapt, which is like a big boss dude, hires a reporter to recover artifacts from the South Pacific and Russia. The reporter discovers an artifact from the South Pacific and Russia. Among them is the summoning key. So basically, the reporter is sent out to recover some artifacts. He finds the summoning key, which is what allows them to control the ether. And big deal. Summoning key is a huge piece of equipment that you really need, especially if you're the Shadow Man or Dr. Monty. December 25th, 1943, as per Mr. Rapt's request, which is, again, is the Shadow Man, the reporter speaks to Stanley Ferguson, a retired guard from Alcatraz. Stanley gives him a detailed account of the deaths of Al Arlington, Billy Hanson, Finn O'Leary, and Sal DeLuca. So basically, that the recordings that you hear on Mob of the Dead with Stanley Ferguson talking, who is Brutus, and they're kind of like in the lives that they're stuck in, the cycle. He is Brutus, but in real life he survived, and he gave a report of the deaths of them, and that's the audio files that you listen to whenever you complete the origin or the Mob of the Dead Easter egg that you run around and pick up. That's the report, which is so cool because the Shadow Man actually sent a reporter to get those from Stanley Ferguson. So he gives the account. That's what you listen to. December 31st, 1943, at Mr. Rapt's request, Shadow Man's request once again, the reporter arrives in Morgue City to take in the sights, sounds, and smells. So the reporter shows up, and that's kind of like the storyline that we get in Shadows of Evil of the reporter talking about stuff. And January 15th, so 115, January 15th, 115, 1943, a meteor shower rains over Morgue City. So basically, Morgue City is this dimension, and Morgue City is being affected by the Apothecon's kind of like revival, that they're coming back soon, and the Shadow Man's posing as Dr. Rapt. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty darn cool. The reporter, so January 30th, the reporter notes a strange mold now glowing all over the city. He also notes people are getting sick and acting delirious. So, pretty cool stuff. Yeah. People are getting sick and acting delirious. So basically 115 or mostly the Apothecons have started actually affecting the city. And you can see that. February 13th, a reporter fruit vendor tells the reporter about the ancient order of the Keepers and how they're the only ones holding back the forces of the apocalypse. So Keepers are kind of waning, Apothecons are getting stronger, and that's why Morgue City is starting to look like it is. He talks to people hearing a chanting from beneath the city. So cool stuff. They're hearing the kind of like chanting of the Apothecons and the Keepers and stuff beneath the city. March 30th, 1944, the reporter sends Mr. Rapt a telegram providing details and the contact information of Nero, Jessica Rose, Floyd Campbell, and Jack Vincent. April 15th says, aware of the Shadow Man's actions, Monty writes to the reporter, warning him not to give the summoning key to anyone. So the Shadow Man's doing some stuff, trying to get more power, and Monty writes the reporter. You guys remember the reporter that has the letter M? That's the reporter. That's a letter from Monty saying, don't give the summoning key to anyone, not even Mr. Rapt. So on April 10th, 1944, Jessica learns a photographer is in possession of compromising pictures of her. A photographer is in possession of compromising pictures of her. On April 20th, pretending to be a company executive, the Shadow Man tells Nero's lawyer that Nero's wife has taken out substantial loans in his name. Nero has 15 days to settle before the company seeks reparation. Facing multiple debts due to his wife's spending habits, Nero decides to kill his wife and get life insurance to pay off the debt. Masquerading as an internal affairs officer, the Shadow Man tries to convince Jack, Vince's partner, to admit that Jack plots to kill a snitch who can provide evidence against him. So basically, everything that happens to the people in Morgue City, they're not good people, but a lot of it's the Shadow Man messing with their lives. So Nero's wife never had these massive debts. The documents were forged by the Shadow Man. And so the entire reason Nero kills his wife is because she like amassed so much debt that he has to kill her for her life insurance policy. He doesn't have to, but because he's still not a good person, that's what he does. So Shadow Man did all that, and then the Shadow Man the Shadow Man gets Jack to kill his partner, to kill the snitch. That's how he affected those two people's lives. April 20th, the Shadow Man poses as a film director interested in hiring Jessica for a leading role. He tells her producer that that the part is hers, afraid that the photographer could jeopardize her chance at stardom. She asked him to meet her so they can sort stuff out. On April 20th as well, posing as a journalist, the Shadow Man suggests Floyd Campbell as a journeyman firefighter to Floyd's promoter, wanting to guarantee his first shot at the title. Floyd decides to wear brass knuckles under his gloves for his fight with Tony King. So basically, Shadow Man's just setting up all this stuff for these people to kill the people they're supposed to kill in order to be trapped. On April 21st, Nero misses a call from his lawyer informing him that the documents were forged and there's nothing to worry about. Jack misses a call from his partner that he has his back with internal affairs and he has nothing to worry about. Floyd misses a call from his promoter that the fight was a success and that he has a shot at the title. And Jessica also misses a call from a producer. He says he didn't have a good feeling about the director and it didn't work out. However, he scored a lead in a musical and he and his partner are financing. So basically, all of these characters, Nero, Jack, Floyd, and Jessica, all get calls from real people, not the Shadow Man posing. All get calls from real people that would stop them from killing the people that they kill. But they all miss their calls. And on April 21st, 1944, all the same day, Jessica kills the photographer and secures the incriminating photos. Jack kills the snitch who could turn him over to internal affairs. Floyd kills Tony the King in the boxing match and cashes in on his winnings. Nero kills his wife in a work accident, cashing in her life insurance policy to square away the debt. So everyone missed all the important stuff that they needed to. Shadow Man manipulated them, and they all end up killing the people. So there you go. That's basically the Shadows of Evil cutscene plus all the Shadows of Evil radios that are around the map. And then on April 1st, 1944, Richtofen arrives in Morgue City to secure this summoning key. This is not after the Easter egg. This is when he actually gets the summoning key right here. But before we can go for that, he arrives to secure the summoning key. But Richtofen learns that the reporter has the summoning key and confronts him. The reporter waves Monty's letter at Richtofen and orders him to stay away before attacking him. Richtofen kills the reporter in self-defense and gets the summoning key. So the reporter that has the letter M, the M letter, and has a knife in him, that is the person that attacks Richtofen because he thinks Richtofen is the Shadow Man, and Richtofen kills the dude with a knife, and that's the body that's sitting there in Shadows of Evil, in the window thing. That's the body right there. I think that's the coolest thing ever. But that's basically what happens there. April 25th, 1944. So the events of Shadows of Evil. Nero, Jack, and Jessica, Floyd and Jessica are knocked unconscious at the Blake Lake Burlesque Club. They wake up in a twisted version of Morgue City, shifted slightly from reality. They are told they can atone for their sins by the Shadow Man. All four are tricked into performing rituals. Jessica sacrifices her producer, Jack sacrifices his partner, Floyd sacrifices his promoter, and Nero sacrifices his lawyer. Completing the required rituals, the Apothecans are given access to Dimension 63. So the Apothecans were kind of creeping in, but whenever all this happens, the Apothecans get full control. They just hit the ground running, and the Shadow Man gets full control of the realm. That's when you see the giant squid thing in the sky, and the rituals that they were tricked into performing, actually gives the Shadow Man all the power that he needs. So where are we now? Realizing they've been duped, the four work with the Keepers to defeat the Shadow Man. They trap him in the summoning key, but before they can hand it over to the Keepers for safekeeping, literally, it would have all been okay if the Keepers had just gotten possession of the summoning key with the Shadow Man inside of it. But Primus Richtofen arrives to steal the key. Richtofen travels to Dimension 210 to secure an innocent Richtofen's soul. He delivers the soul to the house from within the summoning key. The Shadow Man states, "I'll be seeing you." So basically, end of the Easter egg for Shadows of Evil. Richtofen pops in, he grabs the summoning key. He doesn't know that the Shadow Man is in there. He escapes out into a different dimension. And he goes to just a random dimension and gets an innocent Richtofen soul and delivers it to the house. The perfect house. He's basically starting his plan now. He collected the summoning key and he's going to get Richtofen's soul. Basically, the equivalent of him going and getting a Richtofen soul is the same as him collecting the soul of the Richtofen that he kills in the other one, or collecting the souls of Taki and Nicolae and everything in the Grod Krovi and stuff like that. It's the same thing. So that's the events of Shadows of Evil. And that's basically all that happens in Dimension 63. So Origins happens in Dimension 63, Shadows of Evil happens in Dimension 63, and Mob of the Dead happens in Dimension 63. So that's the entire book of Dimension 63, which is just one of the dimensions that they needed. and that's the important stuff. Okay. So we've gone through now the World at War and Black Ops 1 storylines and Black Ops 2 storylines, all three of those with interjections from the Primus and Richtofen and everything like that. All three of those were covered in the beginning section. We've gone through now Mob of the Dead, Shadows of Evil, and Origins are all contained in Dimension 63. And I kind of touched on the house, which is in a whole nother dimension, but it's talked about throughout all the books here. Now we're just going to talk about Agartha, like the original, why everything is the way that it is, talking about the Keepers and the Apothicons and everything like that. So now we're going to talk about Agartha, and then we just have a few more lines and we're done. Agartha, the Summoning Key. The Keepers crafted the Summoning Key, a device that allows them to manipulate the ether, holding the power to alter reality itself, and they use it to create Agartha. So basically, the Summoning Key, most powerful thing, allows you to manipulate ether, and they use that to create Agartha. Ether is like the ethereal energy, and they use that to create Agartha, the actual place where you can sit and like be surrounded by the ether. And they use the Summoning Key to do that. The first transference device, the Keepers master the ability to travel between dimensions. So this is why Keepers are interdimensional beings. They have the power to do that just kind of like by default. So the Keepers can do that. The Dark Ether. Some Keepers begin to experiment with the Dark Ether, which is like the dark side. Like think of the ether as like the Force. The ether is the Dark Ether is the dark side of the Force. It's basically the exact same. But the Dark Ether, this is the same thing that happened to Evil Maxis. This is the same thing that happened to Richtofen in Black Ops 1. The Dark Ether corrupts and corrodes their souls. Among them is the Shadow Man. So the Shadow Man has been corrupted by the Dark Ether, and the same way that Maxis was corrupted by the Dark Ether and everything like that. So Dark Ether basically turns you evil if you're not already. The Ether Pyramid. The corrupted Keepers create an Ether Pyramid, a device capable of absolute power. A schism forms between them and the Keepers untainted by the Dark between them and the Keepers untainted by the Dark Ether. So the MPD is an ether. The thing on the moon. This is so cool. This is like one of the coolest revelations for me. This is brand new information. The MPD on the moon allows for complete and absolute power over the ether, but it contains dark ether. So if you get inside that pyramid, how Richtofen got in, Samantha got in, both of them turned evil. That's because that pyramid allows you for complete control, but you turn evil and you basically have to live inside that MPD on the moon. But that's where they put it. They put it on the moon, and yeah, so they create that thing, and that's when the regular Keepers and the ones tainted by dark ether are like, okay, we're gonna have a war now. War of Agartha begins. The war breaks out between the corrupted and uncorrupted Keepers. The War of Agartha ends. Facing defeat, the corrupted Keepers hide the Ether Pyramid on a moon within one of the newly discovered dimensions. So the Ether Pyramid is put on the moon where Griffin Station will be formed around. So the MPD on the moon is from the original corrupted Keepers, which is why it turned which is why it turned Samantha evil. And then Richtofen was already kind of corrupted, but that just turned him into like an absolute madman. After banishing the corrupted Keepers to the Dark Ether beneath creation, the remaining Keepers take on the Mantle of the Guardians. Trapped in the ether. So Mantle of the Guardians is like that the premise cross, the cross that all the Keepers wear. That's what the regular Keepers wear. Trapped in the Dark Ether, the corrupted Keepers contort and evolve over eons, and ultimately becoming the Apothicons. They desire above all else to return to Agartha. So that's how the Apothicons are created. They started experimenting with Dark Ether and become corrupted, corroded. Their souls were just completely like trashed at that point, and they become the Apothicons. So they want the destruction of everything, and they want to return to Agartha more than anything else. The first arrival. With Dr. Monty's help, the Maxis drone arrives. So basically, this is now talking about when the Maxis drone is sent into the portal, Dr. Monty intercepts that Maxis drone and takes it to the house in Agartha. Yeah. Monty just takes his brain, and despite the absence of his soul, Monty recreates a physical manifestation of his Dimension 63 form. So Maxis is a good guy. He's nice. He has no soul, but he has a body now, and he has a brain. So Monty creates all that for him, and that's the Maxis that is sitting inside of the house. So, good. The arrival of Samantha. Monty brings Samantha to the house, reuniting her with Dimension 63 incarnation of her father. So basically, Monty brings in Samantha after she is saved by Origins. Samantha is saved by Origins, and after that, Monty brings her to the house and completely abolishes the Dark Ether Maxis, and it's good to go. That's how Samantha gets there. Knowing that Samantha is corrupted by the Dark Ether, Monty takes her away from Maxis in the house. So basically, that's what's going to happen. But first, Monty needs to take Samantha away from Maxis and kind of like rid her of this Dark Ether, because she was sitting in the Dark Ether with her evil dad for so long. She wanted to get out, but she was stuck there for a long time. So she's corrupted, and Monty takes her away to kind of like cleanse her. So at the house, Maxis, alone in the house and missing his daughter, Maxis worries if Richtofen will have the courage to fulfill the vow he made all those years ago. So the plan that happened, he's wondering if Richtofen's actually going to do it or not. So Maxis is kind of stuck in the house by himself, so he's not too happy, to be completely honest. He's really not too happy. So the rediscovery of Empty Earth, this is some comic stuff. Having observed Monty for some time, Maxis uses the teleporter in the basement of the house to study and explore other dimensions. Among them is the Empty Earth, where an alternate Maxis had constructed Zero Base, a facility that houses artifacts and replicas collected from a multitude of different timelines. However, his attempts to manipulate Empty Earth create a reality too fragile to be sustained. So basically, this is where the Chronorium is. The Chronorium is an Empty Earth, but you can't like manipulate it all because it's already so fragile that you're just not going to be able to like manipulate it and get a reality that's stable enough out of it. So he was just kind of messing around and find out about Empty Earth with all these artifacts and replicas from different dimensions. The restoration of innocence. Monty returns Samantha to the house, her innocence restored, so he basically like fixes Samantha from all the Dark Ether affecting her, takes her back to the house. Monty's plan. Monty explains to Maxis that the paradox wrought by a multiverse must be resolved. A new reality can be created, one free of the apothecans, but only if they enlist the aid of the souls who had lived through and survived the fracturing. So basically, Monty's saying all these different realities, all these different dimensions cannot exist together. We can create a new one free of all evil, free of the apothecons, but we have to get the souls of everybody who's lived through this. So that's obviously the souls of the premise characters and everything like that. So the Chronorium secured. Among the artifacts that Maxis collected in Zero Base is an ancient book known as the Chronorium, a complete chronicle of the entire history and future of all reality. So this is what we're reading for. This is a page out of the Chronorium. One page out of over 1 trillion pages of the Chronorium is just our zombie storyline, which is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing, dude. But yeah, so that's what the Chronorium is. Has every single thing that you can do ever. A complete chronicle, protected by various countermeasures. The facility can only be accessed by those possessing a soul. So the Chronorium's in the base, and so Maxis can't go get it because he doesn't have a soul. Richtofen's journey begins. Maxis tells Richtofen his plan to secure the Chronorium and relocate the summoning key. Hearing the echoes of his other cells, Richtofen discovers his connection with Samuel Stuhlinger and decides to use the Victus to acquire the Chronorium. So basically, evil Richtofen 1.0 Richtofen had that connection with Samuel Stuhlinger. He kind of like hears those echoes of like other realities of him, and he realizes he also can talk to Samuel Stuhlinger. And basically, after the event, after Maxis like destroys the Earth, he uses Samuel Stuhlinger to go and get the Chronorium along with the other transit characters. You know what I mean? So he uses the transit characters to get the Chronorium. Manipulation of Stuhlinger. Having overseen the construction of a laboratory beneath Alcatraz, Richtofen returns to the house where he begins to communicate with Stuhlinger. So basically, when we talked about the laboratory being constructed underneath Mob of the Dead, that was premise Richtofen. He comes back to the house and begins to communicate with Stuhlinger. Together, they persuade Victus to travel to a variety of locations in order to recover the Chronorium. And then when the Chronorium is finally retrieved, upon arriving at Zero Base, Victus provides blood samples that allow them to access the Empty Earth and recover the Chronorium, because they have souls also they can get in there. And the blood acquired, Richtofen collects the Victus blood sample from Undead Richtofen. That's more stuff in the comments that I don't understand fully, that I'll have to like kind of give you guys an update on as I learn more about it. But Undead Richtofen, I don't know what goes on with that. But basically, all you need to know from the comics is that the Origins characters were used to get the blood vials, and the transit characters were used to get the blood vials and get the Chronorium. The arrival of Edward. Richtofen collects Eddie's innocent soul from Dimension 63, and Monty gives him a physical form in the house. So Eddie collects an innocent soul. Monty gives him a physical form. So basically, this is not the premise. Richtofen is collecting the innocent soul from Dimension 63 version of himself. That's a good Richtofen, the one that was in Origins, and it gives him a physical form in the house. So that's baby Eddie. That's Eddie and Samantha playing together. That's when Samantha meets Edward. Eddie and Samantha meet each other for the first time. Samantha writes in her diary that Edward doesn't like to share toys. Happiness of the children. Monty brings Eddie and Samantha more toys. Biggest revelation. No, I'm just kidding. So basically the kids are just hanging out in the house. The fragility of memory. Maxis notes that the teleportation travel between dimensions could have a profound impact on the mind. He fears the confusion caused by the collision of memories past, present, and future could lead to collapse of reality itself, which is a good shout. I mean, you don't want to like have memories that haven't happened yet and everything like that. So, but then the arrival of the souls. The souls arrive. Maxis tells Samantha and Eddie to put the toys away and make sure the windows are locked before they come down to the basement. So the souls are arriving now. At the very end of the Origins cutscene, that's when the souls of Takio, Nicolae, and Dempsey are all arriving as well. So that's the end of the Origins cutscene. The arrival of Primus. Now soulless Primus brings the summoning key to the house, where Maxis unwittingly releases the Shadow Man. So basically, they've collected their souls from their other selves. They've collected each and every one, and basically after they collect each and every soul from, they're soulless. They don't have souls. But Maxis, again, in the Origins cutscene, unwittingly releases the Shadow Man, who frees the Apothicons from the Dark Ether, and unaware that they would be wiped from existence once they have served their purpose, Primus battles against Monty in his final battle against the Shadow Man. So Primus doesn't know that they're going to be wiped from existence whenever they finish the final battle, but that's Revelation's Easter egg. You help Monty defeat the Shadow Man once and for all and put him away. So that's what happens there. Revelations. So yeah, here it is. So here's the end of Revelations. With the Shadow Man and the Apothicons vanquished, Monty discovers that Primus has consumed the blood of souls from dimensions that no longer exist. The paradox must be resolved. This is where we're going on Black Ops 4, or whatever the next trailer game is. The paradox must be resolved. So they exist because they drank blood of souls that don't exist anymore. And the paradox must be resolved. So that's kind of when he teleports them back to the beginning of the Great War and helps them defeat the Apothicons. So they're kind of like in this loop now, and that's kind of where we're going for Black Ops whatever game is next. All right, so we're almost done. Last chapter, which is literally just a few pages. I don't even think it's like 3 pages. So last but not least is fractures. So these are basically just like different fractures in different places that our characters go, just for like basically dimensions that aren't like the main dimensions. We also have the main dimension where like Richtofen takes over the ether, where Buried happens, where Doris happens, where Dairise happens, where all those maps happen. There's that dimension. There's the Mob of the Dead and Origins dimension, which is dimension 63, and the Shadows of Evil dimension. These are just like different dimensions that they hop into and hop out, and like grab something or do something and hop out, and they're just very, very small dimensions that they included in here. So first off, these are called fractures. These dimensions are called fractures. The Prototine fracture says, April 12th, 1942, overran by the undead, the Rising Sun facility is lost. On July 8th, 1942, Division 9 begins construction of the island facility, which is Zetsubo no Shima. This is where they begin building Zetsubo no Shima. November 5th, 1942, Takio is dispatched by the Emperor to oversee the work of Division 9 at the island facility. So Takio arrives at Zetsubo no Shima, which is in just a completely different dimension. The Agonia fracture, November 11th, 1942. Groff confirms that Division 9 has completed the resurrection of the ancient beast in the battle on the Eastern Front. Reports suggest that the specimens are still extremely dangerous, but the Germans' stalemate on the Eastern Front with the Russians will soon come to an end thanks to their involvement. So basically, Groff basically gets the, Groff basically resurrects the ancient beast, the dragons. Groff gets dragons to be resurrected, and that's what we see. And so this is Gorod Krovi right here. February 2nd, 1943, the Battle of Stalingrad doesn't end thanks to technological advancements on both sides. World War II continues indefinitely. So basically, when we see Gorod Krovi, it's the word Stalingrad never ended, and that's this universe, that's like this version of reality where the universe just kept going and kept going. Like it did, the storyline, the Battle of Stalingrad didn't end because they were so advanced on both sides in this dimension that no one was a winner. So that's that. So February 6, 1943, Division 9 expands experiments to include the use of prisoners of war, Division 9 staff, arachnids, and mythical beast. So basically the Zetsubo no Shima, the big spider, the mythical beast, stuff like that, all that stuff starts being used to use the research. So we're going to come back to, that was Zetsubo no Shima again, we're going to come back to that in a second. February 13th, 1943, working with Maxis at the Kino facility, Sophia reveals she was attacked by Subject 2-6. So another reality altogether. Sophia was attacked by Subject 2-6, and she's gonna become a zombie. February 14th, 1943, so the day after, having learned Sophia was attacked by a Subject 2-6, Maxis kills her and transfers his brain into a machine, a strategic operations planner, and heuristic intelligence analyzer. So basically, Maxis kills Sophia and makes her into Sophia the robot. The S-O-P-H-I-A. Sophia. She makes her, so the Sophia and Grod Krovi is because she was going to turn into a zombie, and Maxis didn't want to let her go, and transfers her brain into a machine. June 15th, 1943, Takio reports the Emperor work being done at the island facility is unacceptable, so Takio says to the Emperor at Zetsubo Noshima, this work is not good. July 7th, 1943, Sophia is transferred to Stalingrad to oversee Group 935's operations. So Sophia, like the big machine Sophia, transferred to Stalingrad, the war that's never ending there. November 16th, 1943, Sophia confirms the existence of the Project Rasputin, the Russian mangled soldier. So basically, that's how the Mangler was made, the Russian Mangler. January 11th, Sophia confirms that the Russian Gigant robot has set back the German advance. So basically, the giant robot that the Gigant I-beams and the big claws and stuff that look like the Ordnance robots, those are the Russian robots versions that Sophia helped make, the robot Sophia. January 3rd, 1945, Russians used stolen Grunt 935 research to create the Russian Gigant, the Russian Mangler, and the Reagan Mark III. So basically, this is when they created that stuff. And then they created the Reagan Mark III. So that's why the Reagan Mark III was at Grod Krovi. We're still talking about Grod Krovi. Still Grod Krovi right here. April 4th, 1945, Sophia declares the Battle of Stalingrad is nearing victory for German forces, that the Valkyrie drones have been deployed to locate any resistance strains and attempt capture. After the release of large concentrations of Element 115 by German forces, the city becomes largely populated by the undead. Nicolae and his comrades continue to fight for what remains of Stalingrad. So basically, Stalingrad, the war was almost over. They made Valkyrie drones, and then 115 corrupted the area and became all zombies, which is why we see Nicolae still fighting the zombies and the dragons at Grod Krovi. So back to Zetsubo Noshima. July 24th, 1945, on the orders of the Emperor, Takio was taken prisoner by Division 9. He's used as a test subject for their organic plant-based experiment. So why you see Takio as a big thing is the Emperor betrayed him. The orders came from the Emperor himself, and he was trapped in that big plant thing and made into an experiment, which is pretty sad. July 24th, 1945, on the orders of the... I read that one. Yeah, read that one. September 2nd, 1945. World War II still rages on. Stalingrad has turned into a three-way conflict between Dragon, Machine, and the undead. Without any remaining human survivors, Sophia is now trapped in the city. So Sophia's there. That's why we see the dragons, the machines, and the undead. That's what we got. September 2nd, 1945, Harvey Yena reports reports that dragons have proven beneficial to war effort in Stalingrad. He confirms that the Diaglock research continues and explore time displacement and movement across dimensions. So that's pretty darn cool, man. That's the fact that Harvey Yena pops back up is so cool. But let's continue on. Cornelius is September 13, 1945. Cornelius attempts to send a transmission to Peter McCain, telling him that the rendezvous of the abandoned Rising Sun facility. So this is just another dimensional version of him saying those same transmissions. October 13th, 1945. So this is the events of the Giant now. As a zombie outbreak occurs, Primus, Dempsey, Takio, and Nicolae confront Ultimus Richtofen, so basically 1.0 Richtofen. Moments after he teleports Samantha and Maxis, as they try to reason with him and wake their counterparts, Primus Richtofen arrives through the teleporter to kill his Ultimate self, triggering fractures across space and time. As Primus fights the undead, Group 935 secure Dempsey as his test subject and transport him to Jura Eisendrach. Primus pursues them and a German giant. So basically, he shows up, shoots himself, causes much more fractures across space and time, and then they have to fight off the zombies and everything like that. So that is what happens in the Giant and Der Eisendrache as well, because they lumped them both into one. With construction complete, Division 9 continued their projects on the island facility. So back to Zetsubo Noshima. This is the actual events of the map Zetsubo Noshima whenever we do the Easter egg. October 18th, 1945, Zetsubo Noshima. Primus secures Takio's soul after they help him commit seppuku. I never know how to pronounce that. I always call it Sudoku just for the memes. But Richtofen takes the crew to Dimension 63. Okay, so after the events at Zetsubo Noshima, Richtofen takes the crew to Dimension 63 to collect the blood. So he takes the crew and collects the blood that's going to allow them to survive. The blood of dimensions that have been closed, they have that blood on them now, and they basically have the power to get out and not die basically after the events of Revelation. That's when they do that. That's when they do that right there. But for insurance policy, they return to the island before traveling to their next destination. October 18th, 1945. Peter McCain makes his jump into Shino Numa as a temporal rift opens up below him as a result of the premise universe fractures. The rift teleports him to Garad Krovi. So Peter McCain, remember the guy falling in the Garad Krovi trailer? That's how he got there. The temporal rift that opens up as the result of them, like Richtofen shooting himself. The rift opened up there and then teleports them, the premise, and Peter McCain there, and they use his parachute to land safely. October 29th, 1945, Dr. Graf takes control of the group 935 in Richtofen's absence, not realizing his fate at the hands of Premise. So basically, Dr. Graf takes controls of Der Eisendrache. Oh, do they actually show Der Eisendrache? I guess, yeah, the stuff wasn't in order. So the order of the maps is actually the Giant, then followed by Zetsubo no Shima. They were done out of order. That's weird. Yeah. In the wake of haunted dreams and rumors that Samantha may be roaming Griffin Station, Graf worries that the MPD may be corrupting the facility. So Graf is at Griffin Station. Graf is still loyal to 1.0 Richtofen. So Graf is still pretty evil. He's an evil dude in this. November 5th, 1945, Der Eisendrache, recovering the Dempsey test subject from a rocket bound for the moon, Richtofen secures his soul and reveals to Premise his intention to set things right. Premise destroys Griffin Station and the moon. So yeah, I think Premise actually... I think... I've never thought about it this way, but it's possible that Premise actually kills... Yeah, it's possible that Premise actually kills the 1.0... If it's in the same universe, Premise might actually kill the 1.0 versions of themselves, but a different version of 1.0. This is like version 1.1. They need... Say they need the 1.0 version of their souls, they might have killed... The 1.1 versions might have been... I don't know. That's not confirmed. That's not anything that they share the information of what happens to the characters on Moon with Takio Dempsey and Nicolae and Samantha and Richtofen's body. They don't really ever talk about that. So, yeah, we got like one page left. Oh no, this is the last page. This is the last page. Gosh, this is crazy, man. Premise destroys Griffin Station on the moon, so you launch the rockets, you kill Groff, who is the dude that we saw in the cutscene, and you shoot him and everything like that, or you blow him up and everything like that. November 6, 1945, drifting through space and time in a surreal form, Gersh arrives in the fracture. So Gersh arrives at Garad Krovi. You guys remember the step where you basically have to extract information out of Gersh, or Sophia does that. He arrives in Stalingrad. The same day, Premise arrives and frees Sophia and acquires Nicolae's soul. Richtofen teleports the soul. Richtofen teleports the souls of Dempsey, Takio, and Nicolae to Maxis at the house. Monty announces his existence to Premise for the first time. So Monty has never talked to Premise before, but he shows up the entire time. Maxis has been talking to Richtofen and mentioned Monty, but never really brought him up. So the first time we hear from
play after, just practice.
Maybe we'll see. Thank you, Sweet Victor. I appreciate it. So yeah, Gersh shows up. Gersh, remember Gersh is the reason Gersh is floating through space and time is that we freed him in Ascension, and now he's floating through space and time. This is where he arrives at Stalingrad, and Monty announces his existence for the first time. Second to last thing, April 25th, 1953, while traveling to Shangri-La, Brock and Gary's plane crashes in the mountains as a result of a freak atmospheric event, another side effect of temporal rifts created by Premise while traveling to Garad Krovi. So basically, that's how Brock and Gary's plane crashed, and they got stuck in that time loop. And November 6th, 1963, hiding in a closet at the Pentagon, McNamara records a message confirming that John F. Kennedy, Richard Nixon, and Fidel Castro has died as a result of have died as a result of the zombie outbreak. He dies moments later. So, and that version of the universe, they died in the Pentagon. So that basically is all of the different alternate realities that don't really have a name, like all the other dimensions that don't really have a name, all the fractures that happen in reality and time when different events of the storyline are going on. So it's not all in order. It's not, but it's grouped by everything, and then they just have they just have Ultimus and or they just have the descriptions of the characters, which we don't need to read. So, dudes, that is the entire thing. That is the entire thing. Here, let me make this full screen. All right, that is the entire zombie storyline. It's not explained exactly in order, but that is the entire zombie storyline, completely explained for everything that we've known so far. I linked the book down below in the description if you would like to read it yourself. But dudes, any questions? Start over. Wait, I'm confused. Start over. That is legit the entire storyline, man. From the beginning till the end. It's hard to understand. It's convoluted. You guys might have to watch the video again. It doesn't explain the Revelations Easter egg. It does, dude. Basically, Revelations, the intro cutscene, you release Dr. Monty, or you release the Shadow Man. Shadow Man calls the Apothecons in. You have to defeat the Apothecons, and at the very, very end, Dr. Monty realizes that you've drank blood of dimensions that are closed off, which should not, you should not have blood of dimensions that are closed off, so therefore you shouldn't exist, because whenever they killed the Apothecons, or deleted them from existence, they, like, they cannot exist anymore, because the entire reason they exist is because of them. But because they drank the blood of the what's it called? They are of the Mob of the Dead characters that is now in a dimension that's completely closed off. They survive, and Monty sends them back in time to what's it called? To the Great War. So it's all explained. Revelations. That's the Revelations Easter egg explained. You vanquish the. This is the Spark Notes. You vanquish the Apothecons. Because you vanquished the Apothecons, you should have ceased to exist. The original 4 characters, the premise characters, the 2.0 characters, should have ceased to exist, but because they drank blood of a dimension that was closed off, they didn't cease to exist. So Monty sent them back to the beginning of the Great War, and that's why they were born in like the 1800s and the 1900s, but also fought in a Great War in like the 1200s. That's it. Can you explain who Brock and Gary are, please? They're basically just explorers who got really, really unlucky and got sucked through a temporal rift and stuck in a time loop. And they're really not significant at all. They're basically the 2 dudes in Shangri-La who were stuck that you talked to during Shangri-La. If you have any questions, go ahead. I'll sit here and answer some questions for a bit. Why did they drink the blood? So they wouldn't be removed from existence, because they knew it was their insurance policy. In case they did something that removed them from existence, if they had blood of a dimension that was closed off that didn't exist anymore, therefore they cancel that out. Mystery box is made by Dr. Monty. Dr. Monty provided a lot of like pushes in the right direction of how to develop stuff, and he kind of like was like helping from afar. So Mob of the Dead was all a time loop. Mob of the Dead actually happened, but they never killed Ferguson. But they killed the Weasel, and then they were all sentenced to death, and they all died. But just for them 4, they're stuck in a time loop. For everyone else, Mob of the Dead never happened for anyone else outside of those 4 characters. Like the events of Mob of the Dead. Who's Dr. Monty? Dr. Monty is a keeper. Dr. Monty is a keeper, and the Shadow Man is a keeper who was corrupted by dark ether and became an Apothecon. So, yeah. Here, actually, let me do this. Let me do this. Perfect. Now you don't have to watch me twice. There we go. In what dimension do we get a fireboat tutorial? Dimension 75. Thank you for that sponsor, whoever sponsored. Appreciate it. Chris says, what about arcade zombies from Black Ops 1? Great storytelling. Oh, thank you. We don't talk about that. Fuji donated a link. Let me see here. Sorry it took me so long to look at this. Oh, nice, dude. Pretty sick. Pretty sick. Do you think the symbol's on the edge of the poster? No one's translated them yet. I would like to know what they say, though, for sure. D-Max says, what's up, no? I've been watching you for a long time. This is the first time doing, finished the ZNSC strike for the first time. Last time, about to enter the DE boss fight for the first time right now. Stay awesome and hype for DLC 5. Hey, that's awesome, dude. Good luck. And then iHaxU says, first stream, got to catch for a little bit. Glad to be able to catch this one. And Zombie Chronicles hype for day. Thank you so much, iHaxU. Appreciate you as well. Why are there zombies everywhere? Element 115 was scattered across the world by the Apothecons. To create havoc and basically create a war that would create these rifts. And 115 reanimates dead cells. So that's how the zombies are. That's how zombies are done. Weasel knowing Nicolae's name. That's never really explained. It's not explained in this anyway. The one thing I can think of is that they both exist in the same dimension. And he like drank his blood. So I mean, they drank like the character's blood. So I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way. You know. Does this explain the Advanced Warfare storyline? No. Who's the bald man in the Ascension poster? That's not explained. I don't think it really matters a whole lot. I think it's just one of those things that the community is always going to speculate about and talk about. I don't think it's or it might be revealed a bit later on, you know what I mean? How many Richtofens are there? Far too many. There's the 1.0 Richtofen, there's the 2.0 Richtofen, and then there's the Richtofen, there's Undead Richtofen, and then there's a Richtofen that is kind of like the planning Richtofen, if that makes sense. Is this the end of the storyline? No, there's gonna be more, dude. There's going to be more, and I can't wait. And I cannot wait. Who is Brutus? Brutus is Ferguson. Is Ferguson trapped with them? But the real Ferguson didn't die. The real Ferguson didn't die, but the Ferguson that what's it called? The Ferguson that's trapped there died, or obviously.
Hey, you.
Will there be new Easter eggs in DLC 5? I don't think so. I don't think there will be. I hope there would, but I don't think so. 1.1 characters. That was just ignore that. It probably made it harder to. To like learn. Like basically the 1.0 characters were not the characters that we played at on like Moon and Shangri-La and everything like that. Those are not the souls that we collected. But the 2.0 characters have to go kill previous versions of themselves, but those versions of themselves are not all in the same dimension. That's what I meant by 1.1 characters. Like, basically, so like, Dempsey had to go kill Dempsey. If he had to go kill Dempsey, that was like the same Dempsey that happened in like Origins and, not Origins. Origins Dempsey, Premise Dempsey, 2.0 Dempsey. Had to go back and kill a different version of himself with like the 1.0 version of himself. But the 1.0 version of himself that he had to kill was on like just a completely different universe altogether, the Dreisendrache universe. He did not have to go back to kill like the Dempsey that was still on the moon with all the other ones, you know what I mean? Like all the different versions of themselves that they need were different. Which Maxis killed himself? 1.0 Maxis killed himself. The same Maxis, the in the beginning Maxis, the in the beginning dimension Maxis is the one who killed himself. Oh, I just realized this is the gameplay where I take in a silenced DSR 50 to the boss fight and regret it completely. Which Edward was shot? 1.0 Edward was shot. 1.0 Edward was shot. That's true.
Hey, you.
Where are the original staffs? The original staffs are the ones that they are holding at the end of the Revelations cutscene. Those are the original staffs. It doesn't say how they were made. It doesn't say how they were formed. But those are the original staff. And Pablo took notes of that, and Max created replicas based on those notes. Premise of the next chair game. We'll see, dude. We'll see. I mean, like the thing about multiple universes and storylines and everything like that is there's so many different things they could do with it. So many different things they could do with it. What is the insurance policy? It's the blood that exists in a universe that's been closed off, or a dimension that's been closed off. So because it exists in a universe that's closed off, it's an insurance policy. Why did Maxis kill himself? To merge with the technology of Griffin Station. Because he knew he wasn't going to get out alive anyway. He told Samantha to kill everyone. And so he just shot himself, so Samantha had no reason to hold back and just would be angry to kill as many people as she could. And he wasn't going to die anyway. He was just going to merge with the technology. So, which he learned how to do in the Crazy Place, which is the gameplay you guys are watching right now. Why did Richtofen need the blood from the transit characters? That part is part of the reason of that is explained in the comics, which I can do like an update to this if you guys want explaining the comics. But I haven't read all of them yet. I've been too busy with school. Obviously, I just spent like how long reading all that, but. Dun, dun, dun. So. Oh, was the Great War the war before the Keepers became the Apothicons? There were two wars. There were two wars, right? The war between the Keepers and the Apothicons, and the war between the Apothicons and humanity. Primus comes in during the war between the Apothicons and humanity. That's where Primus fights. It's just Keepers and Apothicons in like the original war, because the Apothicons aren't formed until after they've been like. The Apothicons are just corrupted Keepers. But whenever the corrupted Keepers like sit there for eons, they become Apothicons. Yep, here's where I go down. Oh man, why did I ever think it was gonna be a good idea to go into this without? So dumb. How do you like the storyline, Noah? Dude, I like it so much better now that you can read that. Mob played in the Giant. Why? It's just a temporal rift that occurred, and in that temporal rift, what's it called? Well, whenever the temporal rift went off, I think I'm about to go down. Yeah, there we go. When the temporal rift like went off, the Mob of the Dead plane went out of their dimension through other dimensions. That's why you see it flying through Shadows of Evil. Went through a bunch of different dimensions before it crash landed on the plane and went back into their like kind of time loop dimension. Shadows of Evil characters. They were just there. They were primarily there just to help complete Evil Maxis's plan, and then they were there to get the Chronorium. That's what they were there for. Hey, one thing I never understood is why we started on the boat captured in Zetsubo Noshima. Do you know why? I think it's just they were on their travels on the way to the island where they needed to do that, and they got captured. I think it's just something that doesn't really matter a whole lot, but they just didn't show. That was long and awesome. What's the biggest thing you learned? I remember back when I first talked about 115 and everyone's theory, and now I know that that's what I learned. Yeah, I think the biggest revelation for me is the fact that the origins map and Mob of the Dead existed in the same universe. I think that's a really, really big one. I think it's really cool that Arthur or Leroy are the same people who are the king's servant. Dude, oh man. Why are there no multiple Monties and Shadowmans in so many dimensions? Because they're interdimensional beings. They exist across all dimensions. If that makes sense. Who controls the zombies in Mob of the Dead and Grod Krovi? I don't think it really matters. I think it's just 115 reanimating them. Richtofen controls them and Samantha controls them in some maps, but it's totally possible for them to just be zombies that are reanimated and just run after stuff, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to be controlled by anyone. They don't. They're zombies. I think that's what they... and that's literally what it says. It doesn't say anyone's controlling them in Grod Krovi. It just says 115 in the area causes all the soldiers to be reanimated. They're not controlled by anyone. All right, guys, I think that's about going to wrap it up. If you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer, leave them in the comment section. If you have questions that are good questions and you would like me to answer, and you see other people asking the same thing, upvote those questions for sure, because I'll comment back and answer them if you guys have any more things. If there's anything that I said wrong or inferred wrong in this, I will correct it in the comment section down below as well. I'll pin a comment saying like, hey, I accidentally said this, it's actually this. 99% of that should be correct because it was from Treyarch themselves. But if I made it anything incorrectly inferenced, I'll do that. But I think that's about going to wrap it up, guys. If you guys have enjoyed this read through, go ahead and hit the like and go ahead and hit that sub button down there. That would be very, very much appreciated if you guys could subscribe, help out the channel and everything like that if you haven't already. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all for tuning in, my dudes. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.